Chapter 1587. Okay, if you are responsible, then wait until you are responsible. You don't need to be responsible now, so why are you adding to the mess? Su Yun smiled bitterly. Do I have to promise you that you won't continue to pursue this matter with me? Lin Gu nodded without even thinking about it. He had to get a personal promise from Su Yun today, or else he would just stay there until he got a satisfactory answer. He did not want to be in this state of guilt forever. This state would make it impossible for him to face anything with a calm mind. Okay, then I promise you. I will never hide this matter from you in the future. If there is anything, I will discuss it with you immediately. Su Yun, are you satisfied with this answer? This was acceptable. Lin Gu was also very satisfied with this answer. Discuss it with me immediately. Brother, this is what you said. It's a discussion. When the time comes, don't give me orders and tell me what to do. If you want to discuss, see if I accept your orders. That's fine, I accept. I say, why are you so stubborn? When the time comes, you will do whatever I tell you to do. I must have thought it through and arranged it. Su Yun, the meaning of the discussion is, if I have something to do, then. Brother, don't fool me. Discuss, that means there is a discussion. It is an exchange of opinions. When it comes to you, it becomes an order. Lin Gu said, I won't. If this discussion is an order, I won't agree. What if you order me to stay at home? Then I will listen. No way. Su Yun nodded helplessly. Okay. Discuss. It's not an order. I will refer to your opinion on everything. But let's make it clear. When the time comes, don't be so stubborn. Give in when you should. Otherwise, there will be no discussion. I will give in when I should. You can say whatever you want, but I also have my own decision. Lin Gu said, if this is the case, I will be satisfied with today's answer. Are you satisfied? If you're satisfied, then work hard for me. Don't put your mind on messy things, Su Yun said. Lin Gu muttered, who knows who's the one who's putting his mind on such messy things? Are you looking for a kick? Su Yun sighed. I have something to do. Lin Gu got up and ran away. As long as Su Yun could accept his participation in this matter, then his heart would be at ease. This matter was related to him, too much. He had to do what he should do. After Lin Gu left, Su Yun felt a little melancholy. It had been a few days since she left, and there was no news at all. How was she going to find an isolated island that the world government was hiding? Phantom. In this world, Su Yun always thought that he was the only one who knew of Phantom's existence. Su Yun was very surprised that Lin Gu could sense her existence. He remembered that it was a night 6 years ago. On the remote island of Dailange, a huge business deal was going on. On one side was Hua Xia's infamous arms dealer, Tong Tiancheng, and on the other side was Western Europe's infamous mafia leader, Donatello. According to common sense, Hua Xia wouldn't be able to interfere with a business deal on Dailange Island. After all, it wasn't within their borders. However, the business this time was too special. The firearms in Tong Tiancheng City were actually stolen from the country by the audacity of using someone from the weapons management department of a military region. Tong Tiancheng's method was very simple. He used alcohol, women, avarice, and anger to take down the person in charge of the arms. Then, he got the naked lady to secretly take a precious video with her phone. For this video, Tong Tiancheng paid a high price of 7 figures. When he threw the video in front of the person in charge of the weapons management department, it was as if the military's armory was fully open to him. At that time, the Middle East was in constant war. Various armed groups and mercenary groups needed an endless supply of weapons. Tong Tiancheng naturally took this opportunity to make a fortune. There were too many arms in the armory, and he felt that it was inexhaustible. However, there was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world. Even if the person in charge of the weapons management department tried to hide this matter, he still couldn't escape the watchful eyes of the supervisor. Of course, the armory was exposed. Tong Tiancheng's audacity completely angered the higher-ups. The Dragon Fury team received an order to kill Tong Tiancheng, and Tong Tiancheng's whereabouts were not so easily exposed. Su Yun and his men spent a lot of effort to find him. However, at the last moment, Su Yun realized that they had fallen into a trap and were lured to another island by Tong Tiancheng. Su Yun, who realized this problem, had no time to make overall adjustments. Time waited for no one. Once Tong Tiancheng's deal was successful, the lost arms could no longer be recovered. Therefore, Su Yun rushed to Dilange Island alone. This was the exact location of the deal that Su Yun determined. Su Yun's judgment was right. He did destroy the deal in the villa on Dilange Island. Su Yun could still clearly remember the pain of that night. He was severely injured, but he did not let Tong Tiancheng or any of his subordinates escape. Donatello, who also participated in this battle, also suffered heavy losses. Almost all of his men were wiped out by Su Yun's men. Su Yun also met Phantom at that time. She was like an invisible bodyguard by Donatello's side. However, she did not attack Su Yun that day, nor did she continue to protect Donatello. Instead, she took the opportunity to slash Donatello's neck with her dagger. At the same time, she was shot by Donatello's pistol because she hesitated. Phantom was injured and could only survive because of the medicine and special emergency treatment methods that Su Yun brought with him. Therefore, Phantom was grateful and stayed by Su Yun's side. Since she was called Phantom, it could be seen from her name that she was like a ghost, a shadow. If she didn't want others to notice her presence, no matter how powerful they wouldn't be able to detect her presence. Even in the Dragon Brigade, where there were many powerful fighters, Phantom could still enter and leave freely. This was also the reason why Donatello valued Phantom. However, Phantom was forced to be his bodyguard. As for the reason, Phantom never mentioned it, and no one knew. The reason why Phantom attacked Donatello that day was probably because she saw an opportunity to be free, and that was why she did it. No one knew how she did it, not even Su Yun. That was why she was called Phantom. The reason why Su Yun could sense that she was near him was because he had touched her blood. This allowed Su Yun to sense whether she was near him based on her aura. Su Yun had tried many times to integrate Phantom into society. He wanted her to join the Dragon Brigade, but Phantom firmly rejected him every time. She didn't want to integrate into society. She was afraid of the hypocrisy between people. She just wanted to stay by Su Yun's side. Su Yun tried to persuade her, but he never succeeded. To protect Phantom's identity, Su Yun hid this secret in his heart for 6 years. He didn't mention it to anyone. However, he didn't expect Lin Gu to notice it. This was something that Su Yun was very surprised about, because Phantom had once told him that unless it was someone who had touched the blood in her body, no one would be able to sense her existence. Su Yun had already confirmed this. No one could sense Phantom's presence. But how did Lin Gu do it? Could it be that he had touched Phantom's blood like him? Otherwise, how could he sense Phantom's presence? Wait a minute. Su Yun was suddenly stunned. How did Lin Gu know about Phantom's existence? Did they know each other? After all, Su Yun had neglected a very serious problem. Phantom wasn't from the underground world, and her reputation had never appeared in Hua Xia's underground world. If Phantom hadn't told Su Yun herself, Su Yun wouldn't have known about the existence of Phantom. Chapter 1588. Then, how did Lin Gu know about the existence of the Phantom? All of this made Su Yun feel like he was in a fog. In fact, 2 years before Su Yun met Phantom, Lin Gu had already seen her, and at that time, Phantom had not been used by Donatello yet. She sat on a lone boat and floated to the island where Lu Xuanji was on in the vast ocean. It was Lin Gu who found her. Her injuries were very serious, and she had lost a lot of blood, as if she had been attacked by a ferocious beast in the sea. At that time, Lu Xuanji had gone far away to visit a friend. Xie Fei's, who everyone obeyed, had temporarily left because of a special situation. Everyone on the island had important things to deal with. Only Lin Ji's mission was to train himself to break through his limits. There was nothing else important. Saving a life was better than building a 7-story pagoda. Naturally, it was more meaningful than training on his own. Therefore, Lin Gu decided to save this life. It was also because of Lin Ge's timely intervention that Phantom's life was stabilized. It was also because of Lin Gu that Lin Gu managed to buy time for Lu Xuanji, who had returned, to save Phantom. When Phantom had completely recovered, Lu Xuanji asked her what her name was. She said that her name was Phantom. At that time, Lu Xuanji seemed to have realized something. Lu Xuanji told her that he could not let her stay on this island because her lifestyle was different from theirs. Phantom immediately nodded and agreed to leave. However, Lin Gu felt that this girl was very pitiful. He asked his master why he could not let her stay. How was her lifestyle different from theirs? Lu Xuanji did not know how to explain, so he agreed to let her stay for 2 days. The weather at sea was not good these 2 days, and there were hurricanes. It was during these 2 days that Lin Gu understood why his master said that her lifestyle was different from theirs. It was because she was like a ghost that lived in the dark side. Unless she showed herself, it was impossible to find her. Otherwise, no one would be able to find her. This island was only about 10 square miles. Her disappearance was simply unbelievable. The only one who could sense that she was still on the island was Lin Gu. Even Lu Xuanji could not sense her presence. Lu Xuanji explained that this was because Lin Gu had come into contact with her blood. When he came into contact with her, the wounds on her body had already been treated by Lin Gu, so there was no blood flowing out. As a result, Lu Xuanji did not come into direct contact with her blood, so he could not sense if she was still there. Lin Gu was the only one who could sense all of this. As such, Lin Gu was quite curious as to why this was the case. Back then, he had asked Lu Xuanji, but Lu Xuanji had not given him a clear explanation. Lu Xuanji had only told him that Phantom was not someone from the same world as them. Su Yun helplessly picked up the glass of water on the table. It turned out that he was not the only one who knew about Phantom. Lin Gu also knew about it. Then, could there be other people who had seen her before and knew about Phantom's identity? Also, who gave her the name Phantom? These were the things that Su Yun was confused about, and also the things that Su Yun was curious about. Of course, Su Yun would never know if there were any answers to his curiosity. Now that Lin Gu knew about Phantom, he would not be able to hide the fact that he was still trying to find Marty Franz Island. Su Yun did not even have to think about it. Lin Gu would definitely seek help from all the people he could find to persuade him, just like what Bai Xiaoye had done. Perhaps the two of them could even work together to find a way to persuade and dissuade him. He. Su Yun smiled bitterly. He really did not know if he was lucky or not. He was really lucky that someone would do this for him. It was just that he really didn't want to mess up other people's lives with these things. He just wanted to share the good things with everyone and not let them get involved in his troubles. Ruan Qingshuang returned to Su Yun's office again. What's wrong? Did Lin Gu tell you the secret? Yes. Su Yun nodded. It's nothing. This kid was just thinking about it himself. Is it still because of Lin Yonghe? Ruan Qingshuang asked. Su Yun hesitated for a moment and nodded. He did not know how to tell Ruan Qingshuang about it, so he just nodded along. I don't think so. Ruan Qingshuang shook her head. She could tell something from Su Yun's expression. I know you don't want to talk about it. It seems that Lin Gu was right to ask me to leave. I'm not a gossip, but when you want to talk about it, you can share it with me. Everyone has curiosity. Okay. Su Yun quickly changed the topic. How's the inspection going? If there's anything I need to pay attention to, you can tell me. I'll study hard. Ruan Qingshuang also said seriously, I really do want to talk to you about a few things. Come, follow me. Chapter 1589. In less than an hour, Ruan Qingshuang gave Su Yun 4 suggestions. If these 4 suggestions could be implemented, they would greatly increase the efficiency of Qingdao. Su Yun was truly impressed. Ruan Qingshuang was indeed more suitable than him to be in the management team. Ruan Qingshuang knew what Su Yun wanted to say, so she spoke before he could. Let me tell you, there is nothing that is unsuitable for anyone. As long as you want to do it, as long as you are willing to learn, and as long as you are willing to do it, no matter how difficult it is nothing but a paper tiger. Think about it, you can even lead a special forces team, let alone a company. She was right. Su Yun nodded. He had the ability to lead. Indeed, Sky Entertainment Group's problems were on a completely different level from the problems he encountered at Dragon's Fury. He didn't have to risk his life to deal with Sky Entertainment Group's problems. Compared to leading the Dragon Fury team, it was hundreds of times easier. Hearing you say that, I really feel that your affirmation of my work makes me feel very comfortable in my heart. Su Yun, to be honest, I have never had much confidence in managing Sky Entertainment Group. I always felt that I wasn't suited to solve so many problems. Then remember today. What kind of problems have Su Yun not solved? Which one of the problems Su Yun solved wasn't more troublesome than the problems you encountered at Sky Entertainment Group? Ruan Qingxuang smiled. I know that the transformation to a technology-based film industry is very troublesome. It requires a lot of time and energy to deal with the problems, but I believe that if you can't solve this problem, no one can. Whether Sky Entertainment's transformation succeeds or not depends on you. When Su Yun heard this, his blood boiled and his whole body was filled with energy. I'll give the notice today. We'll have a meeting tomorrow and urge this matter to be completed as soon as possible. No matter who it is, if they encounter any difficulties, immediately report to me. If they can't solve it, I'll solve it. Haha, you are wrong. Don't make the same mistake that I did, thinking that you should solve the problem that they can't solve. Ruan Qingxuang smiled. I did the same at that time, but Zhuo Meiyan asked me why the company spent so much money on them if they couldn't solve the problem. Which of Sky Entertainment's middle-level managers and above didn't have bulging wallets every year? You have to worry about how much money you get. You mean, Ruan Qingxuang changed her image of a nice old man and told Su Yun very bluntly, if you ask them to solve the problem, they must solve it. If they can't solve the problem, it's fine. The company can arrange for someone else to solve the problem. If they can't solve the problem, they can also recommend the right person to solve the problem. However, there was a prerequisite. Their positions had to be given to the person who could solve the problem. This was called the capable. Just throw the words to them and they will naturally understand what to do. Su Yun smiled bitterly and shook his head. You have improved very quickly. In the beginning, you were also confused by the situation and didn't know how to solve the problem. Now that I have fallen into this strange cycle of being confused by the situation, you really are a bystander. Of course. Otherwise, did you think that I was just here to rest? Ruan Qingxuang smiled. I didn't just come here to represent myself, I also came here to represent Zhuo Meiyan. She called me and said that you will definitely be like when I first started managing these people. Although you are not as soft-hearted, it will be difficult for you to realize that you have unintentionally reduced their workload. This is unavoidable. In Zhuo Meiyan's words, this is called a pit that all managers must fall into. Then I really have to thank you for bringing me a ladder to climb out of this pit so early. Su Yun, if that's the case, then I won't wait until tomorrow. Today, I will ask them if they can do it well. If they can't, then tomorrow I will find someone else to do it. Not a single minute will be wasted. Ruan Qingxuang gave him a thumbs up in admiration. I told you that you are the most suitable person to be a leader. You understand immediately. As soon as Mr. Ruan arrived at Qingdao, although he didn't give any orders, the atmosphere of the entire Sky Entertainment immediately became tense. The pace of the meeting almost doubled. No one knew why, but Mr. Su suddenly called for an emergency meeting in the afternoon and demanded that all management must be present. Even the section chief of the security department and the head of the cleaning department couldn't be absent. Moreover, he also said that if anyone was unable to attend the meeting, he would recommend someone from his department who he felt was suitable to take his place in the meeting. At first, someone really did recommend someone, but soon, Su Yun told him that since he was the one who personally recommended the person, he would let the person who was recommended take his place as the leader tomorrow and directly adjust his position. This time, everyone was shocked. Every one of them was so shocked that they trembled as if they were covered in thin ice. They didn't know why there was suddenly such a big shuffle. Some people even started to spread rumors that Mr. Su and Mr. Zwa didn't get along and that Mr. Su was going to get rid of all the people that Mr. Zwa had promoted. As soon as this rumor came out, some brainless people actually called Zwa Meiyan. When Zwa Meiyan heard this, she quickly understood the reason. Of course, she was happy that Su Yun had come to his senses so quickly. She simply told the people who called her, "If Mr. Su wants to fire you, then fire you. If he wants to fire you, then fire you. It has nothing to do with me. Whether you do well or not is up to him. The company is his. Don't try to get close to me." This sentence was almost a death sentence for these people. The atmosphere of the afternoon meeting was quite tense. Su Yun felt that he had gone too far. The atmosphere was quite oppressive. However, Ruan Qingxuang still secretly gave him a thumbs up. These people were so cautious and nervous in front of Zwa Meiyan. During this time, Zwa Meiyan had been busy with external relations and neglected to supervise them. This made them relax. They felt that Su Yun and Ruan Qingxuang were not as scary as Zwa Meiyan. Even though Ruan Qingxuang had become stricter and stricter, she still couldn't achieve the effect that Su Yun was doing now. Because of this slight change, several people in the afternoon meeting made a military pledge to complete the task given to them by Su Yun within the time limit. If they couldn't complete it, they would resign and apologize. This atmosphere completely accelerated the pace of Sky Entertainment on Qingdao. The pace of a company's work and efficiency determined the speed of a company's development. Originally, there seemed to be no leader in the film industry, but soon, Duan Rue could be seen. In fact, these people were forced. When they had no choice but to do something, they could do anything. In an environment that was too relaxed and without pressure, it would only make people relax and lose their fighting spirit. Adversity produced talent, and chaos produced heroes. This had been the truth since ancient times. Pressure was the best raw material to turn into motivation. As long as this was clear, nothing else mattered. Su Yun also finally realized that this matter could actually be dealt with in a simple manner. The simplest way was to force the subordinates. This was a harsh way to put it. Normally, this was a kind of supervision. If you wanted to be a boss, you had to learn this. If you didn't even know how to force, you were only suitable to be a forced person. Successful bosses would also divide the world into two kinds of people: those who forced others, and those who were forced. Those who forced others were usually successful, rich, powerful, and powerful. Those who were forced were always small staff, ordinary people, and those who had no money, no status, and no power. This society wasn't abnormal. It was just some individual things and relationships that were abnormal. It was just that the more such things and relationships there were, the more people would feel that this society was abnormal and unfair. However, the law of the jungle was suitable for any animal society. People were also animals. Chapter 1590. In Sky Entertainment, Su Yun was silently waiting for news of Phantom. Lin Gu was the same. Every day, he was silently waiting for Phantom to appear. More accurately, Lin Gu didn't want Phantom to appear. Once the Phantom appeared, it might mean disastrous, good news. However, Phantom was like a stone sinking into the ocean, and there was no news. This made them worried. In the beginning, Su Yun was able to remain calm. However, half a month had passed. This made Su Yun unable to calm down. Many things could happen in half a month. He didn't dare think about what if. During this half a month, news of Lin Yonghe's trial also came in. After combining all the factors, he was sentenced to 20 years in prison. This was because Wang Yi and the others had helped Lin Yonghe out of respect for Lin Gu. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to escape a life sentence. However, for someone who was over 50 years old, 20 years in prison was no different than a life sentence. By the time Lin Yonghe was released, he would be over 70 years old. Then, what was the point of being released? Moreover, life in prison was boring. Perhaps one day, Lin Yonghe would be tired of the world. All of this was unknown. Fortunately, Lin Gu was already mentally prepared. He felt that compared to Lin Yonghe's crime, 20 years in prison was already light enough. A lot of face was probably due to Lin Yonghe turning himself in. A prison sentence was much better than a life sentence. If Lin Yonghe performed well in prison, it wouldn't be too difficult to reduce his sentence by 3 or 5 years. As long as Lin Yonghe realized his mistakes, as long as Lin Yonghe started to perform well, everything could be changed. When Lin Gu heard the news, he wasn't too shocked, nor did he care too much. In his words, if Lin Yonghe could accept these punishments, he would definitely fulfill his promise when he came out and forgive him for the mistakes he had made in the past. However, right now, Lin Gu didn't want to think about these things. He didn't want these things to disturb him. Right now, he only hoped that he could clean up the mess Lin Yonghe left behind. If Su Yun was in danger because of the mess left behind by Lin Yonghe, then even if Lin Yonghe came out, he probably wouldn't have the chance to forgive him. Lin Gu had already mentally prepared himself. Regardless of whether Su Yun wanted to go to a dragon's lair or a tiger's den, he would not hesitate to go with him. Whether it was life or death, he did not care about his life at all. As long as Su Yun said the word, he would go through water and tread on fire without hesitation. Now, Lin Gu only acknowledged one thing, and that was Su Yun. As long as Su Yun was fine, then nothing was a problem. If something happened to Su Yun, then it would be a big problem. From Lin Ji's point of view, it would be a big problem. In his heart, he still recognized the old principle that the son should pay his father's debts. If Lin Yonghe wasn't clear about what he owed, then he would help him pay it back. Su Yun and Lin Gu were both busy waiting for the same news. No one mentioned this matter again. After more than 10 days, Lin Gu finally couldn't take it anymore. He took advantage of his free time to run to Su Yun's office. He didn't care whether Su Yun was busy or not, and directly said, "Brother, how many days has it been? There should be news about Phantom, right?" Su Yun put down the document in his hand and looked up at Lin Gu. How could he not be anxious about this matter? Now, he felt that it didn't matter whether Phantom could find Marty Franz Island's serious crime prison or not. What was important was whether she could come back safely. Now that there was no news about Phantom at all, he was as anxious as Lin Gu. He answered Lin Ji's question with the simplest shake of his head. He was also anxious about Phantom's situation, and his mood was as irritable as Lin Ji's. "Then we can't keep waiting, right?" Lin Gu said. He was anxious, and Su Yun also knew that. But now, other than waiting, what else could Su Yun do? Looking for Phantom in the huge Pacific Ocean was simply a fantasy. And as far as he knew, other than him, the only person who could sense Phantom's existence was Lin Gu. How were they going to find her? How were they going to find her? Unless there was a place for them to stay in the Pacific Ocean, and there was someone who could help them. Otherwise, even if Lin Gu was far more familiar with the ocean than others, it was still impossible for him to handle the huge Pacific Ocean alone. The road ahead looked blank, and just as he was at a loss, Su Yun suddenly thought of someone. Yes, Bu Fifan. The ancient Magpie World's Hunter Academy was near Hawaii in the Pacific Ocean. If they could find a place to stay, why couldn't Su Yun go there himself? Su Yun made this decision not because he couldn't wait to know about Marty Franz Island's serious crime prison, but because he was really worried that Phantom would be in danger because of this matter. If that was the case, he would lose more than he gained. Indeed, we can't wait any longer. Su Yun took a deep breath. He had to put aside the matter of Marty Franz Island's serious crime prison. If he used the safety of his current people in exchange for information, Su Yun would definitely not do it. This kind of trade was not worth the cost. Then what should we do now? Lin Gu was startled. He thought that Su Yun would tell him to wait patiently for 2 more days, but Su Yun's answer surprised him. Too much time had passed, and Su Yun could not wait any longer. In the vast ocean, spending a year to find a place was not considered long, let alone 10 days. However, there was no news at all in these 10 days, and Su Yun was really worried. If they could contact her, he would be slightly relieved. But now, they had completely lost contact with Phantom. "I'll think of something." Su Yun reached out and massaged his temples. Less than 100 nautical miles southeast of Hawaii, there was an island called Hunting Island. This name was given by the owner of the island. That's right, the owner of the island was one of the 7 kings, the ancient magpie world. This island was his personal property. Although the island was not a large island, it was definitely not a small island either. It could accommodate tens of thousands of people. However, there were all kinds of ferocious beasts on Hunting Island, and it was really not suitable for humans to live there. There were plains, forests, rivers, lakes, waterfalls, and spiraling mountains on Hunting Island. It would take at least a month to completely familiarize oneself with this place. However, it would only take half a year to familiarize oneself with every inch of the island. Bu Fifan had already adapted to life here. He was already familiar with every inch of Hunting Island, and he had never stopped hunting in the middle of the night ever since he came to the island. This was something that all newbies who had entered the Hunter Academy for less than N years had to do. The principal had said that if one could not even last 1,000 days hunting in the middle of the night, then there was no point in staying. Today, Bu Fifan was hunting a type of giant carnivorous lizard. It was a creature that could easily cause chaos in the food chain on the island. Its reproductive ability was extremely strong, and its reproduction period was extremely short. It was also very aggressive. Even ferocious beasts such as the black bear and leopard on the island dared not provoke it easily. This was because the giant lizard's armor was extremely hard, and it was difficult to injure it with claws and fangs. Of course, it was easy to turn it into a dice with a gun. However, there were rules on hunting on the island, and no lethal weapons were allowed. They had to solve the problem with their bare hands. According to Bu Fifan's mentor, Yuan, if one could not kill the creatures on the island with their bare hands, it meant that one could not even become the king of the food chain on the island. What was the point of going out there then? There was no way one could survive out there. Bu Fifan did not doubt this simple logic. He swore that he would become the king of the food chain on Hunting Island as soon as possible, so no creature on the island could hurt him. This was already the 3rd day that he had been here to capture the giant lizard that he had his eyes on. He absolutely couldn't miss this opportunity. Once he got rid of this giant lizard, he could challenge the group of crocodiles that were lurking in the shallow lake on the island. Chapter 1591. Bu Fifan, who had missed the first 2 opportunities, swore to himself that he would not fail again. Otherwise, Yuan would really look down on him. Although the giant lizard Bu Fifan was going to catch was unprecedented in the history of Hunting Island, if he failed the 3rd time, he would set the record for the longest failure in the history of Hunting Island. Yuan had told him personally that no one on Hunting Island had ever failed 3 times in a row. No matter how ferocious the animal was, they would definitely be able to catch it within 3 tries. He had even tried to provoke Bu Fifan on purpose. He told him that if he couldn't do it, he could just change his target. No one would know, and no one would look down on him. Hearing that, Bu Fifan was even more unwilling. How could that be possible? He would never agree to it. Yes, no one else knew, but he knew, Yuan knew, God knew, and the Earth Lord knew. Bu Fifan couldn't do that. He would lose face if he did. Even if he made history and broke the record of 3 consecutive failures on Hunting Island, he would never do something that would make him feel uneasy. He had promised to kill the biggest one, so he had to kill the biggest one. It was already 2 o'clock in the morning. This was the time when most of the creatures on Hunting Island were resting. However, it was the time when the giant lizard came out. For the past 2 days, Bu Fifan had been hunting the giant lizard at dawn. Therefore, the lizard seemed to be more cautious. It came out of its huge nest 2 hours later. Bu Fifan didn't dare to go inside. The nest was too short for him to move freely. If he went in, there was a 95% chance that he would become the lizard's midnight snack. Just like that, Bu Fifan finally saw the giant lizard that had embarrassed him. He would never let it go back to its nest for the 3rd time. Therefore, Bu Fifan didn't rush to kill it. He wanted to wait until the lizard was further away from its nest. That way, he wouldn't have to worry about the lizard running back and not being able to kill it. Just like that, Bu Fifan almost stopped breathing. He completely concealed his aura and followed behind the giant lizard without making a sound. The lizard's mind was filled with thoughts of where to hunt for supper, so it didn't realize that it was in danger. Finally, the giant lizard stopped in its tracks. It smelled its delicious food. It was a type of fish that could not be considered an amphibian. This type of fish had very inconspicuous forelegs, but it usually lived in the depths of the river. Only late at night would it use its underdeveloped forelegs to come ashore to lay eggs. Perhaps these fish creatures were evolving. Perhaps they wanted to become members of the land, so they kept throwing their offspring onto the shore, hoping that they could grow up and live on land. However, this kind of evolution was meaningless, because all the eggs they laid would be eaten by these lizards. Only a small number of them would fall back into the river and still reproduce as fishes without limbs. The giant lizard especially liked to eat this kind of fish that sneaked ashore in the middle of the night. After smelling their fishy smell, it began to unscrupulously rush over. It knew very well that these fish could not escape at all. If they were not in the water, they were useless. However, at that moment, a dazzling light shot into the giant lizard's eyeball, causing its eye sockets to instantly turn blank. Bu Fifan had prepared a strong flashlight for this purpose. The moment the giant lizard hesitated, Bu Fifan leaped high and sat directly on its body. Faced with the sudden attack, the giant lizard rolled its body frantically. It seemed to know very well that the person who caused trouble for it 2 nights ago had appeared again. If Bu Fifan did not have to deal with this thing with his bare hands, he would only need to give him a dagger. A small dagger would be enough to kill it. But rules were rules. Fighting bare-handed was bare-handed, and no weapons were allowed. In Yuan's words, if these ferocious beasts wanted to kill you, they would not use any tools either. Therefore, it had to be a fair competition. It was because of this damned giant lizard that Bu Fifan realized that it was not fair at all. What kind of evolution had this thing become? How could he be compared to it with his bare hands? This thing had a hard outer skin and sharp claws and teeth. It had evolved to the point where it looked like it was wearing armor. There was no way they could be compared to each other. However, regardless of whether it was fair or not, Bu Fifan would not let go today. This beast seemed to have realized that Bu Fifan would not kill it but capture it alive. Therefore, once it was free, it would run back to its nest. It was safe there. If this person dared to chase it in, it would bite off his head. Bu Fifan held the giant lizard's mouth tightly. He had seen this thing's teeth before. They were very sharp. It would not be difficult for it to bite off a person's arm or leg. However, the tighter Bu Fifan held it, the more the giant lizard rolled. The hard stones on the ground bruised Bu Fifan's entire back. Bu Fifan would not let this beast go just because of this. Seeing that it was about to roll into the river after a few rolls, Bu Fifan hooked the roots of a big tree beside the river. This prevented the lizard from rolling into the river. Bu Fifan could not let it roll into the river. Once it got in, it would be wet all over and its breathing would be disrupted. Then he would not be far from his third failure. The giant lizard seemed to have seen through Bu Fifan's thoughts. It desperately rolled into the river. Bu Fifan's feet were about to cramp. The giant lizard's madness angered Bu Fifan. He suddenly let go of the lizard's mouth and punched the lizard's chin. The sudden punches made the giant lizard dizzy. It took a while for it to come back to its senses. It opened its bloody mouth and bit at Bu Fifan's head. Fortunately, Bu Fifan reacted quickly. He held the lizard's lower jaw with his left hand and its upper jaw with his right hand, forcibly opening its bloody mouth. His head was between those sharp teeth. Bu Fifan could already smell the disgusting stench coming from the lizard's mouth. How long did it take for it to smell like this? Bu Fifan shook his head. He had forgotten that this lizard was not a human. Soon, Bu Fifan was forced to his limits by the strength of the lizard's lower jaw. This lizard was really stubborn. No, this was not the way to go. When Bu Fifan realized the danger he was in, he knew that he had to take the initiative to solve the problem. However, when faced with that disgusting tongue, Bu Fifan could not bear to do it. Seeing that the lizard's teeth were about to crush his skull, Bu Fifan could not care less about how disgusting it was. He grabbed the lizard's tongue. It turned out that the lizard also knew how disgusting it was when its tongue was pressed down. The lizard's throat vomited something that covered Bu Fifan's face. It was so dangerous that Bufifen did not lose his temper. This disgusting feeling was too much for him to bear. He did not know where he got the strength from, but he suddenly grabbed the lizard's upper and lower jaw and tore it apart. The lizard's mouth, which was already big enough, was torn apart by Bufifen. With its mouth torn apart, the lizard seemed to realize that its life as a lizard had come to an end. The strength in its body also suddenly stopped. It was using its body's reaction to tell Bufifen that it had completely given up. Bufifen finally let out a sigh of relief. He also felt that his entire body was about to collapse. He could not even lift his arms. The lizard's half-dead body was thrown to the side of the river. Bufifen could not stand the stench on his body and directly rolled into the river. If he did not wash off a layer of his skin, he would not be able to breathe. This smell was too horrible. Chapter 1592. The Night of the Giant Iguana. This was the largest giant iguana that had ever been caught on Hunting Island. Bufifen's action allowed many people who didn't know him to know who he was. Many people who didn't agree with him at the beginning began to agree with him. When Bufifen first arrived, Yuan once told a few instructors that he had a good relationship with him, that this kid was a good seedling. Although he didn't seem to have a good foundation, he could improve by leaps and bounds if he were to be trained well. At that time, not many people agreed with Yuan's words. Tang Yipeng, who was known as Lone Wolf, made a bet with Yuan at that time. "Crocodile, if you can train this kid, I will prostrate myself before you. You will ask me to do 3 things for you unconditionally." Everyone knew that Lone Wolf was a person who would get what he asked for. He would never do things for anyone for free. Therefore, for him to say such words, it meant that he was determined to believe that Crocodile's judgment of this child was really bad. He was wrong. Therefore, he dared to say such big words. The first instructor, Dongfang Fan, who never joked and was always confident in his work, also said to Yuan seriously, "Don't spend too much time on this kid. This kid's foundation is really ordinary. It's good enough that he can become a martial arts master. If you want him to reach a certain height and realm, it's basically a fantasy." Yuan never hid these words from Bufifen. He told Bufifen that the more others looked down on him, the more he couldn't give up. That way, he wouldn't get sympathy and pity from others. But one day in the future, people would point to the back of his head and say, "See, I said this kid was useless. How about it? I was right, wasn't I?" Therefore, Bufifen risked his life every day and night to prove himself. He wanted to let those who looked down on him secretly look at him and whisper to each other, saying that they were so blind that they didn't notice him at that time. It should be known that Bufifen was actually under a lot of pressure because the first instructor, Dongfang Fan, and the second instructor, Lone Wolf, Tang Yipeng, were both famous for their discerning eyes. Almost all the people they chose didn't turn out to be useless. On the other hand, the number of members that the 8th instructor, Crocodile Yuan, could bring out was much less than the 2 of them. For a while, Bufifen even suspected that Yuan had tricked him. Perhaps he had been abandoned by Headmaster Gu before he had even set foot on the island, so he had arranged for a mediocre person to be his instructor. Until one day, when Bufifen witnessed Yuan's strength, which was no weaker than Zhue Ming and Lone Wolf's, he had a whole new level of respect for Yuan. Knowing that Yuan valued him so much, Bufifen tried his best not to embarrass Yuan. This was no longer just a matter of his personal honor, but also a matter of Yuan's foresight. Because of this, Bufifen couldn't be weaker than others. Since the day Bufifen found out about Yuan's strength, he began his crazy cultivation journey. He used his own efforts to prove that he could do what others could do. Moreover, he would do it better and work harder than others. It was this Bufifen that made people look at him in a new light. Even though the giant lizard he had killed was nothing in the eyes of the 8 instructors of the hunter school, since they could easily take out a giant lizard like him. However, Bufifen was only a newbie at the moment. He had already shown his courage by challenging the giant lizard with his bare hands. When Bufifen was defeated twice, the others joked that he had picked the wrong opponent and picked the biggest giant lizard instead. Everyone was joking, because they didn't believe Bufifen would be stupid enough to provoke the biggest giant lizard. This time, when Bufifen dragged the largest lizard on the hunting island in front of everyone, all the mocking and sneering stopped. What was left for Bufifen was only admiration and amazement. Even the headmaster was shocked by this. If it wasn't for Matthew's recommendation, the ancient magpie world might not have accepted a plain-looking kid like Bufifen. But today, at his level, he had done something that shocked everyone. This kid really makes people have a whole new level of respect for him. Dongfeng Fan smiled. He looked at the ancient magpie world and said in a pleading tone, "Headmaster, why don't you transfer this kid to my team? I'll train him well and let him—" "What do you mean, Xueming?" Yi Yuan didn't wait for Dongfeng Fan to finish. "Are you trying to poach him? At that time, I remember that you personally told me that this child's bone structure was really ordinary. If you hope for him to reach a certain height or realm, it was basically equivalent to a fantasy. Why are you trying to poach him now?" "That's not what I mean," Dongfeng Fan said. "I just think that he's more suitable for my training system, so I'm asking him to join me for his future achievements and benefits." Yi Yuan waved his hand. "Stop dreaming. I'm not giving this kid to you. It's useless even if you tell the headmaster." Dongfeng Fan smiled. "Look at how nervous you are. It's fine if you don't want to give him to me. I didn't say that I must take him. Don't be so unconfident." "I'm unconfident? Fine, I'll give you a chance. We'll let the kid choose for himself." Yi Yuan said, "Let's see if he's willing to follow you or me." There wasn't a single student on the island who wasn't willing to follow Dongfeng Fan. After all, Zhue Ming was more famous and stronger. He was the #1 instructor under the headmaster. Yi Yuan also admitted this. He also admired and respected Dongfeng Fan. However, Yi Yuan was really confident in this matter. "You said it yourself." The headmaster heard it. Dongfeng Fan laughed. They didn't hide their love for talents. Ancient Magpie World knew that this wouldn't affect the relationship between them. After all, Zhue Ming and Crocodile had been through life and death together. They wouldn't fight over a student. Then let them deal with it themselves. Then let him choose for himself. Ancient Magpie World smiled. He hadn't seen a person who could cause a fight between instructors for a long time. Moreover, it was a kid with an ordinary root bone. This was really fresh. "Can I also participate?" Tang Yiping said unwillingly. "I suddenly realized that I also like this kid. We hit it off." "Save it," Yi Yuan and Dongfeng Fan said at the same time. After saying that, the few of them burst into laughter. When this question was placed in front of Bufifen, he didn't even hesitate for a second. He directly answered, "Of course I'm willing to follow my instructor Yi Yuan. Why would I want to train under instructor Dongfeng Fan?" Many people felt that Bufifen didn't seize the opportunity and made a mistake. However, they didn't understand Bufifen's thoughts. Bufifen was determined to fight for himself. He wanted to be stronger than the people selected by Dongfeng Fan in the same batch. He wanted to suppress them in everything. Only then could he fight for Yi Yuan's pride. Bufifen wasn't just doing it for himself, he was doing it for Yi Yuan too. If he left Yi Yuan, he would lose his motivation and purpose. Dongfeng Fan couldn't say anything about Bufifen's decision. He could only accept it silently. It was great that Bufifen could make a choice. It meant that he was a young man with his own ideas. A young man who wanted to achieve great things had to have his own ideas. It was also why Yi Yuan had chosen Bufifen in the past. He had bet on Bufifen, and Bufifen didn't disappoint him. Everything he had done for him was worth it. Yi Yuan also believed that the kid would become a remarkable person in the future. Bufifen's name was getting louder and louder in the Hunter Institute. His name would be mentioned in every topic, and he was either first or second in every training subject. As the genius of the Hunter Institute, everyone was familiar with his name. Chapter 1593. Bufifen did not know that being a straight-A student felt so good. He had never enjoyed the treatment of a straight-A student in school. Now that he had suddenly become the center of attention, Fifan finally understood why those straight-A students were so proud. How could they not be proud? However, Yuan did not give him the chance to be proud. When so many people acknowledged Fifan, Yuan only said one sentence to Fifan: "What's there to acknowledge when you caught a stupid lizard in such a pathetic state? You're still far away." With this sentence, Fifan immediately cheered up. That was true. He still had a long way to go. He wanted to do bigger things in the future. He wanted to make greater progress and gain deeper recognition. Fifan would never be happy just because of this small achievement. This was far from what he wanted. He had to continue to work hard. His goal was to become Su Yun. He believed that as long as he had the perseverance, he would definitely become someone like Su Yun. This was Fifan's goal. It was a goal that would never change easily. Sometimes, people were strange. Whatever they wanted would happen. Just as Fifan was thinking about Su Yun actually contacted the principal through Matthew. The principal then contacted Yuan and asked Su Yun to contact Fifan. Of course, the principal still did not know who Su Yun was. Fifan was really surprised when he received this call. He now called Su Yun like Guagua. When he picked up the phone, he immediately said, "Dad, how did you get in touch with me?" Yuan, who was at the side, spat out a mouthful of tea. Didn't this little thing have no parents? Why did he suddenly have a father? Could it be that this little thing had been fooling me all this time? Yuan did not leave this time. He stood behind Fifan and listened to him talk. "It's convenient for you to talk now. There's no one else around, right?" Su Yun was afraid that his request for help would affect him, so he didn't want anyone other than Fei Fan to hear it. Fifan felt that something was wrong behind him. He turned around and saw that it was Yuan. He didn't treat him as an outsider at all. He continued to say to Su Yun, "Dad, just say it. There are no outsiders here." Hearing Fifan's words, Yuan was quite satisfied. At least this kid was loyal. At least he didn't treat him as an outsider. Yuan felt that he hadn't wasted his time taking care of this kid. "I have some things to take care of, but I need a place to stay in the Pacific Ocean. Someone familiar with the Pacific Ocean can help me." Su Yun said, "I've thought about it, and you're the most suitable. But I know that you must have a lot of inconveniences in the Hunter Academy. After all, you're not there for vacation, and you're not familiar with the Pacific Ocean. But do you have anyone who can help me?" Fifan patted his chest and guaranteed, "Of course." Yuan rolled his eyes at Fifan. This kid didn't even know how to brag. He had only been here for a short time. Even if he knew some people who would agree to help him, he didn't even know what was going on. Would he agree to help him find someone in the Pacific Ocean? Wouldn't that be stupid? It was impossible. "Dad, let me tell you. My mentor is very good to me. He's very familiar with the Pacific Ocean. Plus, we're very close. If I ask him, he'll definitely help you." Fifan didn't care about Yuan's feelings at all. Yuan looked at Fifan in shock. "Damn, you really know how to talk." "Dad, my mentor is the 8th instructor of the Hunter Academy. His name is Yuan, and people call him Crocodile. What do you think? He's capable and loyal. Plus, he's handsome too. His looks are definitely off the charts." Fifan immediately gave Yuan a big hat to flatter him. "Tell me, how can such a loyal person not help with such a small matter? If there's anything you need, just let me know." As Fifan spoke, he looked at Yuan with a face full of admiration and expectation. How could Yuan not nod under such a gaze? Yuan didn't know what had gotten into him. He actually nodded and agreed to help. "Dad, tell me, my mentor has already agreed to help me." "I'll help you," Fifan said proudly. Su Yun was stunned. "You have someone with you?" "Yeah, didn't I tell you? He's not an outsider. He's one of us." Fifan said, "Don't worry, teacher is a very loyal person. He just nodded and said that if he can do it, he'll do it for you. If he can't, then he'll create the conditions to do it for you. Yuan really wanted to pull this kid's tongue out. When did he say that? All he did was nod his head. Just nodded. Just that. Fifan, you're really lucky to have met such a loyal mentor. Really, I don't know what to say. Su Yun. Then, I can only thank Mentor Crocodile first. Really, thank you so much. Bu Fifan looked back at Yuan. Yuan, who was frowning, immediately put on an indifferent expression. He couldn't let his students look down on him. It's a small matter. A small matter. Dad, did you hear that? He said it's a small matter, a small matter. Just say the word. Bu Fifan said, there's nothing my mentor can't do. I want to ask him to help me find someone. Su Yun, she's in the Pacific Ocean now, but where exactly? I really don't know. I don't have any clues. So, Yuan was speechless. What the heck, were you two arranged by God to play with me? What the heck? Do you know how big the Pacific Ocean is? Do you know how many islands there are in the Pacific Ocean? Do you know how deep the Pacific Ocean is? Find someone? Yuan was completely speechless. These two really knew how to think. Okay, no problem. Leave it to my master. Bu Fifan said, Dad, tell me, who are you looking for? I need to make a trip. Su Yun, it's hard to explain over the phone. But, your hunter school won't let people go there casually, right? Of course. Yuan finally couldn't help but speak. This was his bottom line. If Bu Fifan agreed to this, he really had no other choice. Seeing Yuan's firm attitude, Bu Fifan had his own idea. How about this, Dad, let's agree to meet at at the Intercontinental Hotel in Hawaii. When can you arrive? Give me a time. My master will naturally have a way to bring me out. Haha, even if he finds an excuse to go shopping, he can still meet you. If Yuan had a brick in his hand, he would have smashed it on Bu Fifan's head. This brat really had a lot of tricks up his sleeves. He could think of all kinds of ideas. Okay, then 3 days later. I'll wait for you at the Intercontinental Hotel in Hawaii in 3 days. Su Yun hung up the phone and finally felt a lot more relaxed. Bu Fifan was also very excited. Su Yun actually managed to contact him. How could he not be excited? Master, did you hear that? Bu Fifan asked. Yes, I'm quite unlucky. Yuan was speechless. No, I'm not saying that you're quite unlucky. I'm saying, did you hear that? Did you hear that? My dad is coming to find me. Bu Fifan said, haha, 3 days later. 3 days later, bring me to Hawaii in 3 days. Yuan pointed at the chair beside him and said to Bu Fifan, sit down. Bu Fifan was stunned. He sat down very cooperatively and said cautiously, what's going on? Master, you're not the kind of person who changes his mind. You agreed very quickly? Yuan said, do you know how much effort I have to put in? Master, listen to me. I promise you, my dad is definitely a friend worth making. Bu Fifan said, you won't regret helping me. Speaking of which, I really want to ask you something. Aren't you an orphan? Where did this old man come from? Yuan asked with wide eyes. Chapter 1594. Bu Fifan was dumbfounded by Yuan's question. He had never mentioned anything about Su Yun to Yuan. Since Yuan had already asked about it, Bu Fifan had nothing to hide. He told Yuan about his pitiful life as a scavenger, how he was adopted by Fala, and how he met Su Yun. At this time, Yuan suddenly realized that this kid had quite a background. No wonder Matthew introduced him. Your adoptive mother is the famous Shenzhong Xinkai Hotel's female boss, Fala. Haha. This name is really well known. Yuan said. In fact, he had never met Fala, but he had definitely heard of the person who made Fala become the boss. Therefore, he must have heard of the Black Widow. Actually, My mother doesn't have it easy. She's still serving her sentence outside the prison. Bu Fifan said, if it wasn't for my father, I wouldn't have known that she had done so many things that she shouldn't have done. So in my heart, although he's not old enough to be my father and is at most my elder brother, I still call him father out of respect. Yuan was impressed. He really admired this Su Yun that Bu Fifan mentioned. He was definitely not a simple person. Otherwise, how could he convict this kid's adoptive mother and make this kid admire him so wholeheartedly? TSK, TSK, TSK. The world was so big. There were all kinds of strange things. This made Yuan a little curious. He wanted to meet this Su Yun. However, it was really troublesome to bring this kid to Hawaii. If Yuan went alone, he could hide the truth from the principal. He could guarantee that nothing would happen. However, if he brought Bu Fifan, he really didn't dare to lie in front of the principal. If something went wrong, he really couldn't bear the responsibility. Although Bu Fifan trusted him as much as he could, Yuan still chose to report this matter to the headmaster. It would be best if the headmaster agreed, but if not, there was nothing he could do. He could only let Bu Fifan down. Although Yuan usually laughed and joked around, he was very clear about what was important and what was not. If the principal did not agree to let him bring Bu Fifan along, then he would go alone and explain the situation to Bu Fifan's father. It was not that he did not want to help, but he could not help at all. He was not reliable at all. Yuan didn't have any hope when he talked to the principal about this matter, but the principal didn't reject it directly. The principal had made it very clear that he could bring Bu Fifan there. This Su Yun was indeed not a simple person. With just one sentence, he was able to make so many big shots in the US. Beg Matthew to speak up for him. How could he be a simple person? If the other party had any requests, as long as it was reasonable, legal, and principled, then he would help if he could. If he couldn't help, then there was nothing he could do. This really made Yuan's jaw drop. This person was awesome. Even the principal had never seen him before, but after hearing this, he relented. After all, this person was able to find the principal through Matthew. This was a sign of his ability. With the principal's support, Yuan could stand firm in front of Bu Fifan. He told Bu Fifan very confidently that he had already settled the matter of going to Hawaii in 3 days with the principal. He told him not to tell anyone. If anyone asked him why he was going, he could say that he couldn't say. Don't make up excuses. Here, any reason could be suspected by others. If you said that there was no reason, or that you couldn't say a reason, then others would believe that you were on a special mission. After receiving Bu Fifan's reply, Su Yun immediately sent a message to Lin Gu. This was to make Lin Gu feel more relaxed, and also to express his opinion to Lin Gu. He told him that if there was any action, he should inform him as soon as possible. Because of the loss of contact with Phantom, Su Yun entered his Pacific plan much earlier than he had planned. Originally, this plan was to be started after the company's film production trend shifted, but now it was so much earlier. However, Su Yun immediately received good news. Because of Ruan Qingxuang's advice, he learned how to pressure the management. The management quickly replied to him. Sky Entertainment Group's investment in high-tech film production was no longer just a theory. It was immediately put into practice. The new proposal was presented to Su Yun. The new movie plan was also presented to Su Yun. The new production team also reported to Sky Entertainment Group. Everything was going smoothly. When Su Yun saw that the new movie that was going to test the waters was called Escape from the Pacific Ocean, he also made a decision. The plot was not novel, but the method of discussion was quite innovative. Then there was the innovation in the shooting method and special effects. These were what Su Yun needed more. Like most people said, what kind of story was there? The story had been written too many times. It was the same story, but it depended on who was good at it and who was bad at it. If it was good at it, it would be a box office hit. If it wasn't good at it, it would be considered a loss of investment and publicity. In the end, it would be good enough to earn some money. Su Yun agreed to this story so readily because what he needed to do now was to help a person escape from the Pacific Ocean. He felt that this was not a coincidence. It was more like a hint from God. The matter in Qingdao went smoothly. Ruan Qingshuang also returned to Jibei to deal with the matters there. After all the management team got busy, Su Yun felt a lot more relaxed. He could take the time to go to Hawaii. After booking the plane tickets according to the agreed time, Su Yun and Lin Gu arrived at the Intercontinental Hotel in Hawaii on the third day. The weather in this place was quite different. When they were in Qingdao, Su Yun was still wearing a thick coat. Now that they were in Hawaii, he could change into a swimsuit. This island full of charm was indeed something to look forward to. If it were not for the fact that there were so many things to deal with, Su Yun really wanted to call everyone here for a vacation. They could enjoy the sun, the beach, and the ocean. They could enjoy the best gift that nature gave to mankind. Brother, we have been waiting for more than 3 hours. Why is Bu Fifan not here yet? Lin Gu said. Is his master reliable? Is he playing with us? Be patient. We just arrived. Su Yun, go back to your room and adjust to the jet lag. Maybe they will be here soon. Lin Gu shook his head. What jet lag? I am very energetic. I will wait with you in the lobby. By the way, I will go and get some coffee and volcanic beans. Otherwise, it will be too boring to wait like this. Okay, go ahead. By the way, buy me a bowl of Hawaiian noodles. I am a little hungry too. Su Yun said. Lin Gu agreed as he hurried out. He was also hungry. The food in Hawaii was really quite good. It was a combination of delicacies from all over the world and a combination of many unique Hawaiian flavors. It was definitely a must-have experience for any tourist when they arrived. Although they were not here for a vacation, they should not miss out on food and drinks. The two of them did not enter the guest room since they arrived at the Intercontinental Hotel. They ate, drank, and chatted in the lobby lounge. They even had to take turns to use the toilet. After waiting for 6 hours, they finally saw a familiar figure. Dad. Uncle Lin. Bu Fifan came to the Intercontinental Hotel and saw the two of them at first glance. He directly left Yi Yuan and rushed over. They had not seen each other for so long. It would be a lie to say that he did not miss them. He finally saw his family. The grievance in his heart was not so easy to hide. To be honest, Bu Fifan was a little disappointed because he only saw Su Yun and Lin Gu. The others did not appear. At first, he had hoped that everyone would come here for a vacation. Now that he thought about it, he was too optimistic. Everyone was very busy. He was also a cultivator. How could he have so much time to enjoy himself? Chapter 1595. Although it had only been a year since they parted, Bu Fifan's transformation surprised Su Yun. The frail-looking kid was much more muscular than before. His thick shoulders, full chest muscles, and the bulging veins on the back of his hands showed that he had put in a lot of effort over the past few days. The first thing a martial artist had to do was to train their muscles and bones. Only when their muscles and bones were different from normal people's could they be considered to have entered the martial arts world. Obviously, Bu Fifan had entered the martial arts world very quickly. Otherwise, how could he compete with the giant lizard with his muscles? Not bad. Looks like Headmaster Gu of the Hunter School lives up to his reputation. He's really good to be able to train you in such a short time. He's really good. Su Yun patted Bu Fifan's shoulder. You have a bright future. Cough, cough, cough. Yi Yuan walked over behind Bu Fifan. He coughed lightly when he heard that. Bu Fifan quickly turned around and started the introduction. Dad, it's all because of my master that I'm where I am today. It has nothing to do with Headmaster Gu. This is my mentor, the 8th instructor of the Hunter School. He's known as the Pacific Crocodile, Yi Yuan. Nice to meet you, Director Yi. Su Yun quickly said politely. I didn't expect you to be so young and promising. I always thought you were over 40. I didn't expect you to be so young. You're not even 30 yet, right? 31, I'm 31. Yi Yuan nodded. Well, don't call me Director Yi or something. It'll make people think I'm some third-rate director. There are many famous people in Hawaii. It won't look good if people misunderstand. Just call me Yuan, or just Crocodile. Brother Crocodile. Su Yun was still very polite. After all, he had a favor to ask of him. Of course, he had to be polite. Yuan laughed dryly. He should be the one who was surprised. After all, the person Bufifan called Dad couldn't be more than 28. You're still young and promising. Yuan didn't know what to say, so he just casually chimed in. Of course, these weren't empty words. For someone so young to be valued by Principal Gu, how could he not be young and promising? Too promising. Let's not stand on ceremony here. Shall we go to the guest room? Or, have you eaten? Lin Gu said, Brother Crocodile, order whatever you want. You're Fei Fan's teacher, so you're also our teacher. We must treat you well. Yuan saw that they were so polite and was not used to it. No. Since you're here, I should be the one giving you a welcome dinner. This is an old rule in Hua Xia. How can I let you spend money? It's mine, it's all mine. Yes, it's all on my master. He's familiar with this place, and he has more influence than you. You can eat the best dishes made by the most authentic chefs in any restaurant you go to. Bufifan said, Since we're already here, I have to ask my master to treat me. Otherwise, you'll be looking down on him. Yuan was very satisfied when he heard this. Bufifan continued, Why don't we go eat the freshest seafood here? The old restaurant was here during World War II. I'm sure you'll remember it for a long time. Yuan was stunned. That was one of the most expensive places to eat seafood in Hawaii. This little bee asterisk starred. Everyone else cheated their father, but this little bee asterisk starred cheated his master. You can arrange anything. I'll pay the bill. Su Yun, of course, would not let him pay for it. Hearing that Su Yun was so generous, Yuan felt that it was good to be friends with a straightforward person. He said, If you're paying, then I won't go. Didn't Fifan say that if you don't let me treat you here, you'll be looking down on me? Deal. Brother Crocodile, you're a straightforward person. Su Yun said. Yuan was willing to be cheated for this meal. After eating and drinking, Su Yun finally brought up the important matter. Fifan, I feel that Brother Crocodile and I hit it off very well. I'm definitely going to be friends with him. Brother Su Yun, if you don't want to be friends with me, I won't be happy. Yuan and Su Yun hit it off at first sight. I've never seen such a straightforward person like you. In the future, your business is my business. Your son is my son. If there's anything, just tell me. Bufifan added fuel to the fire. Master, then should I call you Master or Dad in the future? Of course, you should call me Dad. Yuan was stunned. No, you should call me Master. Otherwise, if others know about it, they will think that our relationship is really abnormal. If you have any good things, others will mistakenly think that I am giving you special treatment. No matter what I call you, you're still my dad in my heart, Bufifan said. A teacher for a day, a father for life. Su Yun said, You should treat Master as your father in your heart. Yuan gave a thumbs up. Brother, well said. Brother Crocodile, I'll leave Fifan in your care. Su Yun said, Whether he can become a talent in the future depends on your training. Don't worry about this. I've always liked this kid. Now that he's like you, I'll treat him like my own son in the future. Yuan wasn't lying. Brother Su Yun, you came here for an important matter. We've wasted a lot of time. If there's anything, just say it. Don't be polite with me. Su Yun laughed dryly. I've mentioned this before. Brother Crocodile must have thought that I was joking. Yuan was stunned. Brother, you're not really looking for a person in the Pacific Ocean, are you? That's not impossible, but it's like looking for a needle in the sea. Think about how big the Pacific Ocean is. Comparing a person to the Pacific Ocean, it's not too much to compare it to a needle, right? Su Yun shook his head. It's not too much, but I still want to look. Brother, I know you must have your reasons for doing this, Yuan said. So, I'll be frank with you. I'll definitely help you unconditionally. But you have to give me some meaningful clues. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to help. Bufifan quickly said, Yes, Dad. If you have any clues, you must tell my master. He's a man of his word. He'll definitely do his best. Brother Crocodile, I only have one clue. Su Yun said, The person I'm looking for came to the Pacific Ocean to find an island. I don't know the coordinates of the island, and I don't know if my friend has found it. So, it's quite troublesome. Yuan was stunned. Then, he laughed. Brother, you found the right person. As long as you tell me what island it is, I'll settle it for you. Although there are more than 20,000 islands in the Pacific Ocean, it's impossible for me to know all of them. But if I say that I've been to a quarter of them, would you believe me? Yuan wasn't bragging. Although a quarter didn't seem like a lot, the quarter that he had been to were all famous. He believed that the island that Su Yun's friend was looking for couldn't escape from the quarter that he had been to. Therefore, Yuan's confidence wasn't baseless. He had the ability to do so. See, Dad, you found the right person. Bufifan raised his eyebrows proudly. What island? Tell me quickly. Chapter 1596. Marty Franz Island. When Su Yun said these words, Yuan, who was mentally prepared, was still stunned on the spot. He pointed at his ears embarrassedly and looked at Su Yun with a questioning face. His meaning was very clear. He was asking Su Yun, Is there something wrong with my ears? Did I hear wrongly? Su Yun knew that as an instructor of the Hunter Academy, it was impossible for Yuan not to have heard of Marty Franz Island. So he was surprised. Su Yun was not surprised at all. If he acted like nothing had happened, it would be strange. Marty Franz Island. Bufifan thought Yuan didn't hear him clearly, so he repeated it twice in his ear. My dad said Marty Franz Island. Master, you must know this place, right? Obviously, Bufifan was the only one present who didn't know what Marty Franz Island was, so he was the only one who could be excited. Everyone else's mood couldn't help but become heavy because of the name of the island. Yuan didn't answer. He looked at Su Yun with distrust. Brother, you didn't remember the wrong place, did you? Marty Franz Island. If anyone wants to find that place, wouldn't this place be difficult to use? Is it water? As he said this, Yuan pointed at his own head. That's right, unless there was water in his head, he wouldn't take the initiative to find Marty Franz Island. The outside world was so wonderful. Only a lunatic would want to go to a place of no return and live a dark life. Because it was Su Yun who wanted to find Marty Franz Island, Yuan's words were unintentionally saying that Su Yun's brain was water in his head. Su Yun's brain was sick. So Lin Ge wanted to explain, but Su Yun signaled him not to say anything. Yuan could see the two's eye contact. Brother Su Yun, here, I treat you as a friend. Let's not beat around the bush. What kind of place is Marty Franz Island? I'm sure you know the purpose of its existence since you know the name. Su Yun nodded and agreed with Yuan's words. Since you know everything, it's easier for me to say this. Yuan said, Because I also know what kind of place it is, and I also know the purpose of that place in this world. You said your friend was going to find that place. Then, how long has he been looking for it? There's no news at all? I can only pray that he's in a shipwreck, then there's still hope. The other possibility is that they found the place and lost contact with you. That's perfectly normal. Bufifan didn't understand the situation. He tugged at Yuan and said, Master, what are you talking about? How can you hope that something bad will happen to someone? What do you know? Shut your mouth and go play somewhere else. Yuan said, Darren is talking, don't interrupt. Bufifan could only sit aside and listen helplessly. Brother Crocodile, you don't understand the specific situation. Lin Ge finally couldn't hold back and wanted to explain. It's us who want to find this place, so our friend wants to help, and Even if she finds a place, she won't act rashly, so she won't be involved. Yuan had a headache. He didn't know how to explain. Brother, regardless of whether your friend will act rashly or not, do you think it's so easy to get close to Marty Franz Island? Won't she be involved? If she accidentally gets close to Marty Franz Island, she will be involved without knowing it. It can't be that bad. Lin Gu shook his head in disbelief. Yuan smiled bitterly. People who had heard the true story of Marty Franz Island wouldn't have such a disapproving expression. He knew very well that although Lin Gu knew about Marty Franz Island and the horror of Marty Franz Island, he didn't really understand the horror. Marty Franz Island is one of the most beautiful islands on Earth. Yuan said lightly, "It has the most beautiful sea in the world. Sitting on a boat there is like floating, so Marty Franz Island is also known as the island in the sky. Of course, the island in the sky has another meaning, which is to tell everyone that it's a place that can't be touched." Bu Fifan really felt that it was a little unbelievable. Was there such a place in the world? Everyone knew how serious the pollution on Earth was. How could such a place exist? If it was 50 years ago, Bu Fifan would have believed it. Of course, at that time, he had no idea. But now, Bu Fifan really didn't believe it. "Master, the place you described is so beautiful, I can't help but want to go." Bu Fifan laughed dryly. If there was such a paradise on Earth, then those who didn't want to go would be stupid. Yuan snorted. "I haven't finished yet. Although Marty Franz Island has the most beautiful sea, it's also the most dangerous volcanic island in the world. While we're talking, I'm afraid the 3 active volcanoes on the island have already erupted one by one. There must be a reason why such a beautiful place is isolated from the rest of the world, and why people don't even fly over it. It's a forbidden place that can't be touched. Its danger is far greater than its beauty. Master, now that you mention it, it reminds me of pufferfish. Although it tastes delicious, it's highly poisonous. But even so, there are still people who risk their lives to eat it." Bu Fifan said, "Maybe such a beautiful place is really worth visiting, no matter how dangerous it is." Yuan directly slapped Bu Fifan's thoughts. "But why don't you think about what kind of people eat pufferfish? 9 out of 10 people who eat pufferfish are idiots from Japan. Normal people know which is more important, their mouths or their lives. There are so many delicious things in the world. Only idiots would risk their lives for a mouthful of fish. Idiots from Japan are idiots. Are you idiots too?" After being scolded by Yuan, Bu Fifan obediently lowered his head and admitted his mistake. Of course, he didn't want to be compared to idiots from Japan. When Yuan was describing Marty Franz Island, Su Yun listened very seriously. He was racking his brains to think about which part of the sea had such an island with 3 active volcanoes. And there were no flight routes over that part of the sea. Although Yuan didn't seem to say anything, he really narrowed down a very big range for Su Yun. "Brother Crocodile, have you been to that place?" Su Yun suddenly asked. Yuan was stunned. "Didn't I say that only idiots from Japan would eat pufferfish without caring about their lives? I'm not an idiot from Japan. Marty Franz Island is beautiful, but the danger is more frightening than the beauty." Su Yun took a deep breath. This obviously wasn't a joke. Yuan was very serious and didn't seem to be joking at all. "I don't know what you guys are thinking. Why do you have to go to that place?" Yuan said. "Brother Su Yun, I can only tell you that your friend is probably doomed. Of course, if you ask me to help you find her, I will definitely help you. If you have any requests, you can ask me for help. It's just that I can't promise you anything." "I know what you mean." Su Yun smiled. "No matter what, I'm really grateful that you told me all this." "It's good that you understand," Yuan said. Su Yun was silent for a while. "It's just that my friend is a little special, so I think she might be lucky." Yuan was stunned. He didn't understand what Su Yun meant. A little special? "She should be the last member of the Shadow Clan in this world," Su Yun said lightly. Yuan was even more surprised when he heard this than when he heard about Marty Franz Island. Shadow Clan? What kind of joke was this? Wasn't the Shadow Clan exterminated long ago? How could they still exist? Moreover, even if Su Yun wasn't joking and the Shadow Clan really existed, it was already impossible for him to find one person in the vast Pacific Ocean, let alone a Shadow Clan member? Wasn't that even more impossible? Not to mention the Pacific Ocean, even on a small island of 10 square kilometers, if a Shadow Clan member didn't want you to find them, you would never be able to find them in your lifetime. Chapter 1597. Yi Yuan didn't dare to believe Su Yun's words. It wasn't that he didn't trust him, but that he really couldn't accept this fact. It had to be known that the extinction of the Shadow Race was a major event in this world. Moreover, this event happened a long, long time ago. During the chaotic years of the world's ancient wars, the Shadow Race was completely exterminated. This was because at that time, the Shadow Race was the epitome of despicable. They could sell themselves to any country's spy system for a high price. They used their bloodline's inexplicable ability to hide in various countries, constantly stealing all kinds of secrets. It was because of the Shadow Tribe that so many disastrous events had occurred. These events had dealt a heavy blow to the human race. Therefore, every country began to sign the same agreement. All Shadow Race people were expelled. As long as they caught a Shadow Race person, they would be exterminated, not leaving a single one alive. If a country violated this agreement, all the other countries would launch an attack on them. This was just like how no one wanted to be beaten up by a group. No country wanted to become the enemy of all other countries. No one dared to violate this agreement, so all the Shadow Race people were killed. When the Shadow Race people realized that they and their clansmen were being killed, they began to flee for their lives. Western Europe's Shadow Race people ran to Eastern Europe, South America's Shadow Race people ran to North America, and Central Asia's Shadow Race people ran to South Asia. But in the end, their endings were the same. No matter which country they went to for help, they would all be mercilessly slaughtered by that country. This was the tragedy of the Shadow Race's extinction. It was truly tragic. Whether it was the old, the weak, the sick, or a baby, they were all unconditionally sentenced to death. In other words, whether or not the Shadow Race people participated in the espionage activities, they would all be killed. This slaughter lasted for 3 years. No Shadow Race people were lucky enough to escape. They were all killed. This was because the existence of the Shadow Race people was unfair to the espionage activities of the various countries. Therefore, for the sake of fairness, not a single Shadow Race person was left alive. Was this really the Shadow Race? It wasn't like this. There were too many things in this world that wouldn't happen if it was fair. Did the espionage activities stop after the Shadow Race people died? It still didn't stop. There were still all kinds of espionage organizations, and spies still caused many large-scale disasters in the world. Each world war was more severe than the last. The test of humanity was becoming more and more terrifying. In truth, the destructive disaster did not lie with the Shadow Tribe but with all of humanity. As for the death of the Shadow Tribesmen, that was only a sacrifice. It was only a substitute. Even after all the Shadow Tribe members had been killed, the human massacre still continued. This was a very sad thing. The Shadow Tribe wasn't wrong. They just did the wrong thing at the wrong time. Mistakes belong to everyone, and all humans make mistakes. This was a very tragic story. For hundreds of years, no one had mentioned the Shadow Race. Now, most people in the world didn't even remember the existence of the Shadow Race. Perhaps humans wanted to quietly cover up their mistakes, so they kept quiet and let the world slowly forget about them. Today, when Su Yun suddenly mentioned the Shadow Tribe, Yi Yuan was really surprised and flabbergasted. He also felt guilty for the mistake his ancestor had made. But then again, finding a Shadow Clansman was far too difficult. This wasn't an era where Shadow Clansmen would willingly walk into a trap. If there were still Shadow Clansmen left, Yi Yuan felt that they could only choose to hide in a corner of the world that could never be seen. They absolutely wouldn't appear in front of their fellow humans who had killed them. This meant that even if there were still people from this race that couldn't exist, they wouldn't be discovered by others. After all, the Shadow Tribe was a kind of oddity in the history of human evolution. Of course, The word oddity didn't mean to harm others. They were definitely a race that had an absolute advantage in the history of human evolution. Even the martial cultivators in the world with bodies that surpassed ordinary people wouldn't be able to detect the aura of the Shadow Tribe. The reason they were called the Shadow Tribe was very simple. It was because they were always like a shadow by your side. They followed you every day, but you rarely paid attention to them. How could one find such a person? In addition, what made Yuan feel a bit awkward was that in his view of the world, the Shadow Tribe was definitely extinct. It was just that this matter had been forgotten by history. In human history, the genocides that people remembered more clearly weren't the most painful ones. The Rwandan genocide and the Armenian genocide both killed millions of people. This sounded terrifying enough. The most terrifying massacres happened in the Hua-Xia continent. During the northern and southern dynasties of Hua-Xia, the pain of the 5 barbarians' rebellion sounded unimaginable. Tens of millions of people died, right? The history that made one's hair stand on end was truly terrifying. Murong Xianbei plundered the Central Plains and kidnapped tens of thousands of young girls. On the way back, he wantonly indulged in debauchery. At the same time, he used these young girls as rations and cooked them. There were also records that the Jie tribe's army didn't carry rations. They only kidnapped Han women as rations. The Jie tribe called them two-legged sheep, which meant that they walked on 2 legs like sheep. At night, they were used for the soldiers' debauchery, and during the day, they were slaughtered and cooked. Under the Jie tribe's Jie Zhao regime, the Han people who had once established the Great Qin and Great Han dynasties were on the verge of extinction. This was a bloody lesson. In reality, extinction wasn't impossible. Even the Han people, the largest human race in the world, had almost been wiped out. Of course, the Han people were indeed very pitiful. This wasn't the first time that the Han people had been massacred. Everyone could casually talk about the Qing dynasty's massacre. 10 days in Yangzhou, 3 massacres in Jiading, massacre in Suzhou, massacre in Nanchang, massacre in Guangzhou, massacre in Jiangyin, massacre in Jinan, massacre in Chaozhou, massacre in Yuanjiang. No one dared to continue. The massacre that the Shadow Tribe faced at that time was the same as what happened to the Han people after the Qing dynasty invaded. No matter where they went, they would be massacred. Of course, the most unprecedented massacre in history was the Mongol Empire's massacre. 30 to 40 million people in Hua-Xia died from the massacre. Including Central Asia, West Asia, and Eastern Europe, around 200 million people died. Kublai massacred 18 million people in Hua-Xia. 90% of the Han people in the northern part of Hua-Xia were killed. Of course, no one wanted to talk about these things of the past. No matter how they were killed, these people were still alive. When the Mongol Empire was preparing to exterminate the Zhang, Wang, Lu, Li, Zhao, and Han families, it was said that the Red Scarf Army's sudden attack prevented this genocide. The Han people had faced so many disasters in history, but they still persevered. When the Han people appeared in the world, they had a unique stability in the history of the world. They had a rare cohesion and attraction, and they started the most magnificent development of the world's ethnic history. How could the Shadow Tribe be compared to the Han people? The Shadow Tribe didn't have the cohesion of the Han people, so after they were exterminated, they were just exterminated. They didn't have the attitude of being able to rise again when the spring wind blew. This wonderful race in human history was gone just like that. Was it the Shadow Tribe's loss, or was it the loss of the entire human race? There was no need to talk about it. Of course, it was the loss of the entire human race. Humans had done too many stupid things, but their merits always outweighed their faults. The Shadow Tribe, this race that hadn't been mentioned in a long time, was suddenly brought up today. How could it not agitate Yuan? If it was really the last Shadow Tribe, then wouldn't everyone have the duty to protect it? Perhaps they should, right? Chapter 1598. Yuan thought a lot, but in the end, he chose to believe Su Yun. Su Yun's honesty made Yuan unable to refuse. But there was a problem that Yuan had to understand. How could a shadow race person be friends with them? This kind of historical hatred was not something normal people could accept. I don't want to pry into your privacy, but I have to understand. How could a shadow race person be friends with you? Yuan looked at Su Yun and asked seriously, could it be that shadow race person's lifestyle is the same as ours? Of course it's different. She has her own lifestyle. Su Yun said, it's just that I won't disturb her lifestyle. At the same time, I won't look at her through biased glasses. I will still treat her as a normal person. That's why she's willing to be friends with me. Yuan nodded and muttered to himself, the last shadow race person. I know. You're going to ask me how I know she's the last shadow race person, right? Su Yun said lightly, a long time ago, humans exterminated the shadow race. I don't think I need to tell you, but you should know. But if you want to rely on a pair of butchers to completely exterminate a race, it's not that easy. Only a natural disaster can make a race go extinct. He paused. Su Yun continued, to make a race go extinct, it's only possible if the climate suddenly changes and the temperature drops, causing the oxygen in the atmosphere to drop, making it impossible for them to survive. Or if an asteroid hits the Earth and sends it back to ancient times. Otherwise, if you rely on exterminating a race, there will always be some left behind. You mean, back then, not all of the shadow race people were? Yuan opened his mouth wide in shock. Su Yun nodded. Phantom had told him about this before, so he was clear about it. At that time, the shadow tribe was indeed hunted down in large numbers, but a portion of them still managed to escape. These people all fled back to the origin of the shadow tribe, Life Island. Of course, this is what they call it. Life Island is a very mysterious place in the South Pole. It's a place that humans can hardly reach. I've heard of Life Island, but isn't that place already? Yuan's eyes widened. That's right. 10 years ago, Life Island disappeared. Su Yun said, it was at that time that the Shadow Clan was truly exterminated. At that time, there were more than 28,000 Shadow Clan members on Life Island. Only one person was lucky enough to escape, and that was Phantom, whom the Shadow Clan had placed their hopes on. You're saying Phantom is from the Shadow Clan? No wonder. Yuan came to a sudden realization. 10 years ago, a person had appeared out of nowhere in the world. She called herself the Phantom. In just 3 to 4 years, she had easily taken the heads of 32 illegal terrorist organizations in the world, shocking the world in one fell swoop. But in the past 6 years, Phantom had completely disappeared. There were so many organizations all over the world trying to find her, but they couldn't find her. So she was actually from the Shadow Clan. No wonder. Yuan could not believe that the friend Su Yun was talking about was Phantom. You want me to help you find Phantom? Yuan said, brother, you think too highly of me. Why don't you think about it? After so many years, how many people wanted to find her? Ever since she killed the leader of the Biwaka armed crime syndicate, her name shocked the world. Whether it was government officials or bandits, no one didn't want to take her under their command. But they couldn't find her. Especially Boog's armed forces. In order to find Phantom, they spared no expense. But what was the result? Not only did they not find Phantom, Boog himself was killed by Phantom. From then on, these armed organizations that had nothing to do with justice died in Phantom's hands, but no one was able to catch her. Su Yun nodded. What he said was true, but Phantom had still almost fallen. Otherwise, she wouldn't have chosen to work for a mafia syndicate leader while hiding her identity. She also wouldn't have known Su Yun. So, you should understand what I mean. I will do my best to help you, but I really don't have the slightest bit of confidence. Yuan said, I have worked for the principal for so many years, and there has never been a mission that made me feel unconfident. But today, Brother Su, this favor that you want me to help you with is really difficult. Master, if this favor wasn't difficult, my father wouldn't have asked for it. Bu Fifan suddenly said, really, I know Su Yun better than you do. Haha. Su Yun smiled bitterly. Yes, if it wasn't for the fact that he had no other choice, he wouldn't have come here to disturb Bu Fifan. Yuan nodded. I understand. This matter is definitely not that simple, and I know it in my heart. How about this? I won't say much. I will give you something. Take this, and all the islands you pass by in the Pacific Ocean, whether they are private or public, will allow you to enter the islands. Even the islands of the Shark Syndicate can be entered. Bu Fifan was stunned. Are you stupid? Yuan glared at Bu Fifan and continued to talk to Su Yun. But in the Pacific Ocean, there are two forces that will not entertain you. One is the Shark Syndicate, and the other is the Beluga Syndicate. These two syndicates are pirate organizations that have been rooted in the Pacific Ocean for many years. Using a poem to describe it, the wildfire cannot burn, the sea breeze blows and rises again. For so many years, our principal has been trying to completely destroy them, but to no avail. A crafty rabbit has 3 burrows. There is no other way. Su Yun nodded. These motley crew, although they are not that dangerous, they are not to be trifled with, Yuan said. If you encounter an island that they have taken over, I'm afraid they won't invite you to enter the island. As for whether or not they will give you any trouble, I think it shouldn't be too difficult for you to deal with them. I've been fighting this kind of motley crew since I was young. Don't worry, their little tricks are completely useless against me. Lin Gu patted his chest and said. He had dealt with many islands since he was young. Even now, if he were to stand in the Caribbean Sea, no pirate group would dare to touch a single hair on his head. Yuan nodded. Then I can rest assured. They are indeed very cunning and sometimes very good at disguising themselves. So, you must be careful and be on your guard. Thank you. Su Yun took an inconspicuous circular wooden plate from Yuan. It was hand-carved from mahogany and looked very delicate. You have this, which means you are related to our hunter school. Yuan said, this way, the islanders who have received our grace and protection will welcome you warmly. Of course, the downside is that if the other party is from the Sharks or Beluga Whale clan, they will definitely think of ways to harm you. Su Yun nodded. This thing was really a double-edged sword. I will give you this. As for whether you use it or not and how you use it, that is up to you. Yuan said, I'll have all my connections pay attention to the people you're looking for. If there's any abnormality that makes me think that it might be the shadow race, I'll inform you immediately. With Brother Crocodile's words, I am really relieved. Su Yun said, I am really sorry for causing you so much trouble. This is nothing. Compared to educating this kid, this is a small matter. It is not troublesome at all. Yuan said, It is troublesome to cultivate this kid into a talent. Ha ha ha. The few of them were amused. Only Bu Fifan did not laugh. He muttered to himself unhappily, Yes, I don't have talent. But let me tell you, talent is only an advantage. It can't represent your whole life. For me, using hard work to make up for it can represent my life. With this awareness, he was not far from becoming a talent. Su Yun was glad that he did not stop Bu Fifan. He patted Bu Fifan's shoulder heavily to let him know that since he had chosen this path, the burden on his shoulders would be heavy. Su Yun did not only want Bu Fifan to become a bounty hunter who hunted wanted criminals for a living. He wanted his goal to be bigger. Chapter 1599. The trip to Hawaii was a secret operation of Su Yun and Lin Gu. They didn't tell anyone. Of course, this was Su Yun's request. Since he was by his side, Lin Gu didn't mind and agreed to Su Yun's request. Lin Gu and Su Yun were the same. They didn't want others to worry about them. However, even so, their excuse wasn't perfect. Su Yun announced to the public that he was going to visit a few famous Hollywood special effects production teams in private. He wanted to make friends with them in private so that he could learn their advanced technology. This excuse could indeed fool Ruan Qingxuang and Bai Xiaoye. Needless to say, the others didn't. No one doubted that Su Yun would do this because he was very determined to change his investment in high-tech movies. Even a few artists who tried to cause trouble were directly banned, not giving them a chance. After all, artists were artists. They took Sky Entertainment's money and did Sky Entertainment's business. Therefore, even if they struggled and came up with something, they could only pay and terminate their contract. There was no way for them to escape unscathed. This was for those who were capable. If they weren't, they would be directly banned and their career would be completely ruined. No matter how influential a person was, if they were banned, they would be forgotten in a short period of time. For example, after teacher Chan Pai-sai performed Eat Noodles on the 1984 Spring Festival Gala, everyone looked forward to his skit every year. But after he was banned, teacher Zhao Ben-san appeared again. It wasn't until 1999's Yesterday, Today, Tomorrow that he became the skit that everyone looked forward to every Spring Festival Gala. Later on, Selling Crutches reached its peak. Therefore, Soo-yoon only needed to use a little of the artist's thoughts to win over everyone. No one wanted to be like teacher Chen, who had been blacklisted. They all wanted to be like teacher Zhao, who had left everyone behind and become a dark horse after Sky Entertainment's transformation. Therefore, Soo-yoon killed one as a warning to the others. He directly banned a few big names who took the lead and this matter was easily solved. Sometimes, people needed to have some tricks. If they didn't have some tricks, it would be difficult to convince the public, especially if they were obedient. That was even more impossible. Although Soo-yoon was soft-hearted and didn't want to ruin someone's future because of some of his decisions, for the sake of the greater good, Soo-yoon could only do this. Reality proved that this was absolutely correct. Everything in Sky Entertainment became normal and positive. No one came out to cause trouble again. Therefore, Soo-yoon's reason to visit a famous Hollywood special effects production team was very good. Only one person knew that this reason was really bad. That was Zhua Meiyan, who had just finished dealing with the outside world. When Zhua Meiyan heard this from Ruan Qingxuang, she calmly nodded and didn't say anything. After Ruan Qingxuang left, Zhua Yeming asked in surprise, "Wow, my brother-in-law is quite capable. He went to visit just like that. His connections are quite strong. Could it be that Matthew contacted some big name in Los Angeles for him?" "You really believed it?" Zhua Meiyan said indifferently. Zhua Yeming was stunned. "Why wouldn't I believe it? Could it be that he's tricking people? Could it be that it's fake?" "Of course it's fake," Zhua Meiyan said. "Those famous Hollywood special effects production teams are so busy that they can't even tell their socks from their pants. How could they have the time to meet him? How many times have I tried to make an appointment with them? When did they have the time?" Peter Jackson's Weta Studio and Lucas Industrial Light and Magic, these famous special effects production teams have to do post-production for many American films. I had to bring Sky Entertainment's name and use so many connections to get an appointment. He said he wanted to see them and they went? Do you really believe that? If it was someone else, I wouldn't believe it. But with my brother-in-law's skills, it's hard to say. Zhua Yeming nodded. "Forget it. I'm telling you, if Soo-yoon really did make an appointment with a famous special effects production team, he definitely wouldn't bring Lin Gu, who doesn't know anything about special effects," Zhua Meiyan said. "He himself doesn't know anything about special effects. If he brings someone who doesn't know anything about special effects, what can the two of them do? It's like they're illiterate." Zhua Yeming rubbed his chin. "That made sense. Use your brain. If he really did what he said, he would have called me immediately. He would have asked me to introduce him to the best special effects production team I know in the country. He would have brought someone who knows about special effects." Zhua Meiyan said. "Soo-yoon doesn't know how to do business, but that doesn't mean he's stupid." "Sis, you mean that he didn't do what he said he would do? It's just an excuse. Then, where do you think he went? What did he do?" Zhua Yeming asked in surprise. "If I knew where he was going and what he was going to do, would I still be talking to you?" Zhua Meiyan was speechless. "Of course I don't know what he's going to do. But what I'm sure of is that he definitely wouldn't visit a famous special effects production team in Hollywood. Even if he wanted to, they wouldn't have the time to entertain him." Zhua Yeming nodded. His sister's words made sense. "Then why didn't you expose Sis Shuang when she said that? Sis, do you have any selfish motives? Didn't I say that you have to compete fairly with my brother-in-law? What selfish motives can I have? I'm doing it for her own good. If she knows, she'll only be more worried. It's better if she doesn't know anything. I even hope that Su Yun can come up with a good lie and make me believe it. That way, I won't have to worry anymore. Zhua Meiyan's words were true. If Ruan Qingxuang knew about it, she would definitely be like her now, blindly wondering what Su Yun was doing. This kind of thinking might not seem like a big deal, but it could really consume a lot of energy. It was like a new parent. Although it seemed like they were doing the same thing every day, their work efficiency was definitely not the same as before. This was because most of their energy would be unconsciously placed on worry and concern. Even if they were just a door away from the little baby, they would still be worried and concerned from time to time. This was the nature of any animal. You're worried? Isn't that obvious? Zhua Meiyan said. It's not like you didn't hear about the things that happened a while ago. We all know the current situation. Who knew that one day, he would suddenly lose his mind and go to the Pacific Ocean to find some Marty Franz Island felon prison? Wouldn't that be hopeless? Zhou Yeming was stunned. He stared at Zhua Meiyan without saying a word. Zhua Meiyan was confused. Why are you staring at me? What? Did I say something wrong? Zhou Yeming shook his head vigorously. Then why are you staring at me? Sister, do you think that my brother-in-law's brain has suddenly lost its nerve? Zhou Yeming said blankly. What if he has already gone to the Pacific Ocean? What if he has already gone to that Marty Franz Island? Then wouldn't that be the end of everything? Zhua Meiyan's jaw dropped. No way. It can't be that sudden, right? Sister, you definitely know his way of doing things better than I do. Zhou Yeming said. What are the possibilities? You calculate. How do I calculate? Let me calculate. Zhua Meiyan's heart jumped when she heard Zhou Yeming's words. What if Su Yun had really lost his mind? Wouldn't that mean that everything was over? Wouldn't that mean that everything was destined to? Phew, no, that definitely couldn't happen. Zhou Meiyan forced herself to calm down. Su Yun isn't such an impulsive person. Don't talk nonsense to me. Don't think too much about it. Also, don't talk nonsense when you go out. Right now, everyone in Sky Entertainment knows that President Su went to meet the special effects team in Hollywood. If your stinky mouth finds out, then we'll be in trouble. Do you understand? Of course I understand. I'm not that stupid. Zhou Yeming promised. Only the heavens, the earth, you and I know about this. No one else knows about it, including Sister Shuang. She definitely won't know. Zhua Meiyan rolled her eyes. That's more like it. Chapter 1600. This might be the only thing Zhua Meiyan could do for Su Yun. She could take care of his affairs so that he wouldn't waste his energy worrying about the people here. Therefore, Zhua Meiyan wouldn't tell anyone that Su Yun had lied, but she couldn't make herself look like nothing had happened. After all, Su Yun had gone to find Marty Franz Island. Zhua Meiyan obviously didn't believe that Su Yun could find that place, so she wasn't overly worried. However, nothing was absolute in this world. Who could be sure that Su Yun couldn't find Marty Franz Island? What if he found it? What should she do? It would be too late to react then. This was what Zhua Meiyan was worried about. Things that she couldn't predict would make her feel even more uneasy. Who knew what Su Yun would do? The only thing Zhua Meiyan could do was to hide it. Su Yun, who was far away in Hawaii, sneezed twice in a row. He wondered who was scolding him again. The climate and environment here were so comfortable. There was no smell of exhaust fumes. It was impossible to irritate people's nasal cavities. Someone must be scolding him behind his back. Brother, are we really going to carry out the needle in a haystack plan next? Lin Gu said. Isn't this a little? I don't have much confidence after hearing what Crocodile said just now. Brother, I'm just telling the truth. Don't blame me for putting myself down. It's really difficult. Yi Yuan had already left with Bu Fifan. Although he had asked the principal for permission, he still couldn't let Bu Fifan stay outside for too long. An ascetic life required an ascetic state. If Bu Fifan could come out and slack off every now and then, there were so many temptations in Hawaii. Once Bu Fifan lost his mind, the child's future would be ruined. Yi Yuan carefully arranged and planned every step of Bu Fifan's cultivation. He would never give him a chance to go astray. Regarding this point, Su Yun was quite assured. This was what it meant to be reliable. It was Bu Fifan's luck to have Yi Yuan as his master. Su Yun held the mahogany token Yi Yuan gave him and waved it in front of Lin Gu. Since they've lent us such an important thing, we'll have to rely on ourselves for the rest. Just the two of us? Lin Gu smiled bitterly. Okay, brother. I'll do whatever you say. Even if you want me to search the Pacific Ocean alone, I'll do it. Perhaps it can only be the two of us, Su Yun said. Where are we going to find a third person who can sense the presence of phantom? And crocodiles the greatest. You might not have heard of it, but there are so many islands in the Pacific Ocean, and they all have different rules. If you rashly land on an island, you might anger the natives there. Although Yi Yuan and Fei Fan brought us a boat and fuel, once we start looking for people, we will need supplies. If we offend the natives on the island, where will we get supplies? You can't buy it even if you have the money. This was the truth. Food problems, water problems, fuel problems, and all sorts of other problems needed to be solved by going to the island. Therefore, the token that Yi Yuan gave them was very useful. It could be said that without this token, Su Yun and Lin Gu would not be able to move around in the Pacific Ocean. Unless they treated themselves as bandits and forcibly went to the island to steal supplies, regardless of whether the people on the island were willing or not. If that happened, they would be no different from the Sharks and Beluga whale clan. They would become two bastards. Take good care of this thing. Su Yun waved the mahogany card in her hand. Let's treat this trip to Hawaii as a casual trip. Just treat it as a relaxing trip. Lin Gu chuckled. How could they relax? He remembered clearly that the mahogany token was a double-edged sword. It could make the people from the Welcome Hunter School welcome them as guests. At the same time, it could also make the enemies who were always at odds with them come looking for trouble. The Hunter School's hunting island was located in the area with the most disputes. They had been fighting against the pirates for many years. Perhaps the mahogany badge was also a thorn in the eyes of the illegal armed gangs on the sea. Su Yun chuckled helplessly. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. That was indeed the case. When Su Yun and Lin Gu just left Hawaii, they were already being watched. The two shifty-eyed fellows had been whispering around them. When Su Yun and the others got on the waterway, the two shifty-eyed fellows immediately started contacting each other. No one knew who they were contacting. Boss, we saw the mahogany token at the Intercontinental Hawaii Hotel. Shifty-eyed said carefully. Rat-eyed immediately added, it's in the hands of two young men in their 20s. They don't look like people we've seen before. Maybe they're newcomers that old fart invited. Shifty-eyed interrupted again. Boss, what do you think we should do? The other end of the phone was silent for a while. Finally, the person said, did you see it clearly? Newcomers? Young men. And they have the mahogany token of that old fart? Did sand get into their eyes? Are they wearing glasses? You can't talk about this. You know the consequences. Of course we know. Shifty-eyed said, Boss, I swear I didn't see wrongly. They're definitely newcomers that Goo Fart invited, and their ranks aren't low. Nonsense. The person on the other end of the phone cursed. Of course, people who had the mahogany token were of high rank. If this was true, then it was a good opportunity to attack the ancient Magpie world. For so many years, the Hunter School led by the ancient Magpie world had been suppressing them in every possible way. They had suffered enough. This time, they had a chance to catch someone alone and show the ancient Magpie world their power. Wouldn't that be great? Now, I order the two of you to keep a close eye on them. I'll arrange this immediately. Let me tell you, if you're wrong and that's not the mahogany token, then I'll eat the two of you tonight. The voice on the other end of the phone was very intimidating. Shifty-eyed and Shifty-eyed were scared, but they were still sure that they were not mistaken. The engravings on the mahogany token were very special. If they had seen it once, they would definitely recognize it. However, it was a little difficult for them to keep a close eye on these two people. But since the boss had given the order, they had no choice but to do it obediently. The inland area, or the coastal area's environment, still couldn't be compared to the pure ocean's climate. In the vast Pacific Ocean, Lin Gu was familiarizing himself with the satellite positioning system and operating system in the boat as he slowly sailed into the ocean. Su Yun was also sitting comfortably on the sofa in the cabin. Although the boat wasn't big, it was more than enough for the two of them. If it was on land, it would be a large caravan. In addition to the driver's seat, there were 2 foldable beds, sofas, TV, refrigerator, bathroom. You could think of anything here. Even the wine cabinet was filled with champagne and imported wine. Bu Fifen's teacher was really generous. Su Yun was sure that Bu Fifen didn't have the ability to prepare all this, so it must have been Yi Yuan who had prepared it. In fact, Su Yun didn't know that Yi Yuan had prepared all this under Principal Gu's instructions. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gotten such a luxurious small boat. Teacher Crocodile is really generous, Lin Gu said as he studied the boat's operating system. This boat is really advanced. Bu Fifen's reputation is quite good. Haha, brother, he didn't embarrass you. That kid will definitely have a bright future. Su Yun smiled. It's hard to say if it's because of him. Maybe it's because of Matthew. Oh? Brother, are you saying that all these arrangements might have been arranged by the ancient magpie world? Lin Gu said. Su Yun shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. Who knows? Since it's already like this, we'll gladly accept it. No matter who arranged it, we owe the Hunter School a favor. With that, Su Yun waved the mahogany token in his hand. Chapter 1601. The sea route was different from land. It was slow to travel and required precise positioning. Otherwise, one would quickly get lost in the vast ocean, especially in a huge ocean world like the Pacific Ocean. Lin Gu determined most of the main islands in the area through the satellite positioning display system. All they could do was try their luck on each island. Even if Phantom wanted to find Marty Francis Island in the Pacific Ocean, the first transit point she would choose would be Hawaii. Therefore, Su Yun and the others had no better idea. This sounded like the behavior of a lunatic, but they had to do it. Lin Gu was mainly responsible for a simple tour of the nearby waters today. After confirming most of the main islands, he began to choose which island to start the search from. This way, they would need to wander around. Once they started to wander around, if they could still detect a boat following them, it would be equivalent to driving in the city. It was already so congested. When you strolled from the small street in the east to the small temple in the west, you would still see the same car behind you. How could you not be suspicious? Brother, I think we're being watched. Lin Gu said lightly. The boat had a 360-degree panoramic camera. The screen inside the boat could see the surrounding environment clearly. Although the small speedboat that was following them had been quite far away from them, it still aroused Lin Ji's suspicion. Su Yun was not surprised. This place is obviously a place of trouble. When we were in Hawaii, we stayed in such a high-end hotel. After leaving, we have such a luxurious yacht. It's not normal that we're not being watched. Don't so many sea bandits rely on this to make a living? It's fine. In fact, Huaxia people would often be hijacked and attacked when they were traveling on the high seas. The reason was very simple. The whole world knew that there were many rich people in Huaxia. They also knew that most of the rich people in Huaxia who could own private yachts in Huaxia had unclean money. Therefore, they didn't dare to say anything when they were robbed, nor did they dare to report it to their own country. If they reported it, Huaxia would definitely protect them and help them seek justice. However, if these people's assets were checked, they could only cry. Therefore, these people were often the fattest piece of meat in the eyes of the pirates on the sea. Su Yun and Lin Guo were both Chinese, so it wasn't strange for them to be targeted. Su Yun was still quite open-minded. If the Pacific Ocean was compared to the rest of the world, it was equivalent to public land. Since it was public land, there was no distinction between private land and private land. There was no such thing as snatching or taking from others. Whoever had the ability could take advantage of others. It was that simple. If they really do provoke us, they're really lucky, Lin Guo said. At most, they'll be taken away and thrown into the sea. They won't be killed directly. Even if he died, he deserved it. Su Yun said, since ancient times, these people who rely on hijacking sea routes to make a living are all extremely vicious people. Not all pirates can make great contributions to science like William Dampier. Most of them are full of evil. During the reign of Emperor Hongwu of the Ming dynasty, Chan Zui had occupied Malacca for more than 10 years and established the world's largest pirate group. At its peak, it had more than 10,000 members and nearly 100 warships. It had plundered more than 10,000 ships and captured more than 50 coastal towns. Some countries in Southeast Asia even paid tribute to it. If it wasn't for Zhang He who saw through his conspiracy, he might have directly established Indonesia as an island kingdom. Lin Guo said, the Crocodile Gang and the Beluga Gang here shouldn't be as large as the Pirate King Chen Zui, right? It's impossible, Su Yun. Back then, it wasn't like now. It's impossible for such a large force to exist now. The world government wouldn't allow it. However, although these forces aren't that large, they aren't necessarily weak. To be able to take root here and not be completely destroyed by the ancient magpie world after so many years, it can only mean that they do have a certain level of strength and ability. Are we being targeted by them? Lin Guo smiled. Su Yun nodded. It's possible. With that said, Su Yun took out the mahogany token and looked at it. If they were being targeted by this token, it was either because they mistook them for rich tycoons from Huaxia or because of this small token. Brother, is there a problem with this thing? I'm afraid that this thing really represents an extraordinary identity. Su Yun, crocodile is too kind. If I knew that this thing was so valuable, I wouldn't have accepted it. If you don't accept it, how are you going to deal with the problem of our supplies every time? Lin Guo grinned. Only good things should be taken. Su Yun put away the mahogany token. I'm just afraid that this good thing will bring us too much trouble. If Buddha blocks us, we'll kill Buddha. If God blocks us, we'll kill God. If soldiers come, we'll block them. If water comes, we'll use earth to block it. Lin Guo said. It's just a few pirates, a piece of cake. Lin Guo basically understood the general situation of the sea as he spoke. Brother, I'm afraid that there's no Mardi Franz Island nearby. Most of the nearby islands are inhabited. I believe that the prison won't be in such a crowded place. Then let's go, Su Yun. Phantom should be able to think of this too. She won't waste time. The ship had enough fuel, and there was also a lot of spare fuel, so there was no need to replenish it at all. There was no shortage of food or water. They continued to search the sea for the next 2 days. This made the two shifty-eyed brothers suffer. The two of them chased the ship all the way, but the other party didn't stop the ship. It wasn't until the ship ran out of fuel that the two of them were dumbfounded. It wasn't that they didn't do their best, but that the other party was too good at running. Seeing that the sky was darkening, Su Yun also realized that they should find a place to land. It was still very dangerous to spend the night at sea. If there were strong winds and waves, there was no need to take this risk. Soon, the two of them came to an island that was convenient for stopping the ship. When the two of them approached the island, 4 or 5 people appeared in the coastal waters, staring at the uninvited guests intently. After Su Yun and Lin Guo got off the ship, they were immediately surrounded. These people didn't look like aborigines, so Su Yun tried to communicate with them in English. When he found that he could communicate, he was relieved. We just want to stay for the night. We can pay. Su Yun, if it's convenient, can you take us to a place where we can stay? I'm sorry, guests from afar. We have rules. Outsiders are not allowed to stay on the island at night. The leader of the few people said, I hope you can understand. Su Yun smiled awkwardly. He didn't want to use the mahogany token so soon, but it was really too late now. Look, I have this. Su Yun had no choice but to take out the mahogany token. After seeing the mahogany token, the other party was obviously much more enthusiastic. However, in the end, the other party still told Su Yun that this was a rule that couldn't be broken. Even if they all knew the mahogany token and knew that the owner of the mahogany token must be a friend, they still couldn't agree to Su Yun's request. However, this didn't hinder the enthusiasm of the Aborigines. A lot of delicious food was sent over. It could be said that other than not letting them stay for the night, everything else was given to them. This already made Su Yun and the others feel flattered. In this way, Su Yun was embarrassed to break the other party's rules. He could only think of going to the next island to try his luck. In the darkness, the shifty-eyed people followed them again. They didn't know where they got the fuel in the ship. After seeing all this, they immediately informed their leader and told him the fact that they had the mahogany tokens in their hands. They also conveyed the situation they encountered to the higher-ups. Su Yun and Lin Ji's ship sailed away from the shore again. The shifty-eyed people followed them again. This was the order they received. Follow, 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 follow to the end. Chapter 1602. After a few twists and turns, the two of them arrived at another island. This island was much smaller than the previous one, but judging from the smoke rising from the island, there should be a lot of people living on this island. In addition, there was a place to park ships on the periphery of the island, so it should be a very good place to stay. When their ship neared the island, it was quickly surrounded by 4 or 5 people, just like what they encountered before. However, the difference in appearance between these 4 or 5 people was quite big. The shortest one had a mustache, so he looked like a standard Japanese, while the tallest black man was almost as tall as an American professional basketball player. The one who looked slightly more normal was probably a yellow-skinned, black-haired man. Of course, he was obviously not Chinese. He had a standard Korean face, which of course meant that he had a big face before he had plastic surgery. May I ask if we can stay on the island? Su Yun was much smarter this time. If there was a rule that outsiders were not allowed to stay on the island, he didn't need to waste time and didn't need to take out the mahogany order to make things difficult for them. After all, many rules and customs were extraordinary. For example, if Su Yun and Lin Gu went to the island during the day, and the people on the island knew that he had the mahogany order, they would definitely put down their work and hold a banquet for the two of them. However, once the sun went down, they would still send Su Yun and Lin Gu away. No matter who it was, they couldn't break their rules. This was because that was the ancestral rule left behind by the ancestors of the island. Back then, the ancestors of these people had stayed on the island because of a man who claimed to be from the distant east. This Japanese man attracted his accomplices in the middle of the night and killed almost half of the compatriots on the island. That Japanese man looked gentle and refined, but when he did things, he was very cruel and merciless. The purpose of these Japanese people was the non-existent gold mine on the island. The Japanese people had been doing whatever they wanted on the island for half a year, and the people on the island had also dug for them for half a year, but they hadn't seen anything. Not to mention a gold mine, they hadn't even seen a coal mine. Therefore, these Japanese people reluctantly left the island. Although these Japanese people left the island, they left the people on the island with unforgettable pain. Therefore, the ancestors left behind a rule, which was that outsiders were never allowed to spend the night on the island. Even those who could be considered friends were not allowed to stay overnight on the island because of the unique natural conditions of the island. As long as there was no one on the island to receive them, outsiders would not be able to enter. Therefore, it became the rule of the island to not let anyone who was not a resident of the island stay overnight. Unless it was a daughter-in-law who had married into the island or a son-in-law who had married into the island, no one could stay overnight. Although there weren't many islands with such rules, it wasn't rare in the Pacific Ocean. Back then, Japan, which was still called Japan, had done many bad things in this great ocean. There were too many shadows left behind. Fortunately, the island Su Yun chose this time didn't seem to have so many rules. Hearing his words, he immediately nodded. Of course, we welcome guests from afar. The person who spoke was the most normal one among them in terms of height, body shape, and skin color. Su Yun could easily tell what he was talking about from his accent. "You're Chinese, right?" Su Yun smiled. "Chinese." The other party was obviously surprised. He didn't expect Su Yun to speak Chinese. This shocked him. Of course, his answer also denied his nationality. He was just Chinese. Lin Gu finally breathed a sigh of relief when he heard that he finally met one of his own people. When fellow countrymen meet fellow countrymen, both eyes are filled with tears. I didn't expect to meet fellow countrymen in this vast Pacific Ocean. Chinese is good, Chinese is good. We can finally have a place to stay. He. Yeah, I didn't expect you to be Chinese. The Chinese man was still in shock. Then, you come with me. I will help you arrange it. That's great. I can't ask for more. Lin Gu nodded again and again. Su Yun also expressed his gratitude. Thank you for your trouble. Everything went so smoothly that Lin Gu couldn't believe it. Under the guidance of the Chinese man, they soon came to a house with everything. The Chinese man told them that this was one of his residences and asked them to rest assured. Soon, the Chinese man also brought them drinks and food. He asked them to eat and drink as much as they wanted. They couldn't go home until they were drunk. After 3 rounds of drinking, Su Yun and Lin Gu felt sleepy. The Chinese man got up and left to let them rest. After the Chinese man left, Lin Gu suddenly sat up with his eyes wide open and looked at Su Yun. Brother, what do you think this person means? There's obviously something wrong with this wine. He put something in it. Seeing that Su Yun did not respond, Lin Gu was stunned. Brother, don't tell me you really fell for the trick after drinking this wine. The taste of the ecstasy in this wine is too obvious. Who? Su Yun sat up. They just left and you're already yelling. Aren't you afraid of being heard? Even if I drank it, this little bit of drug wouldn't make me fall asleep like a dead pig. Lin Gu smiled. Brother, what do you think this means? It's really hard to know what's in a person's heart. They already know we're Chinese and they still want to trick us? Don't tell me they want to kill us and rob us at night. Should we scare him, or should we do something else? Su Yun said lightly, Do you think it's this Chinese man's idea? Could it be that all of them came up with this idea? Lin Gu asked. Are they interested in our boat? Why haven't you figured it out yet? Let me ask you, did you notice that we weren't stopped when we came here? Su Yun said, Compared to the first time we came to the island, isn't it much easier? Yeah. Lin Gu nodded. But isn't this because there are people from the same hometown? And it's a black-hearted fellow. If this sea is as dangerous as Crocodile said, do you think an island will let outsiders enter so easily? Su Yun said, They didn't even look at the mahogany order that Crocodile gave me and let us come. That's because they want to trick us. Lin Gu said. Su Yun asked, Then why don't they think we're pirates and guard against us? Lin Gu was startled and suddenly realized. Unless they are pirates themselves? That's right. Su Yun said, Unless they're pirates themselves, that's why they're not worried that we're pirates. That's why they let us come ashore so easily. We're just fat meat sent to their mouths. It's a waste not to trick them. Lin Gu took a deep breath. Holy **T. Who would have thought that he would end up in a pirate's lair after all the precautions he had put up so much? Brother, you mean, this island is a pirate's lair? Lin Gu smiled bitterly. The two of us really have good taste. We really know how to pick a place. Su Yun shook his head helplessly. Sometimes it's like this. The more you don't want to run into trouble, the easier it is to run into trouble. Since we're here, there's no reason for them to refuse. They've already entertained us with good wine and food. They're probably waiting to kill us. Should we run or fight with them? Lin Gu said. I'm afraid our ship is already under their control. It's definitely impossible to sneak away. We can only force our way in. Su Yun, let's wait and rest for a while. When it's about time, they will naturally come to us. We're not in a hurry. Lin Gu laughed and said, All right, brother, we'll do as you say. I'm going to lie down and take a nap. I'm a little tired. Rest for a while. Su Yun also found a comfortable position on the bed and lay down. The other party thought that they had caught a turtle in a jar, but in fact, it was Su Yun who was waiting for them. Chapter 1603. In this way, Su Yun and Lin Gu really fell asleep peacefully. In the latter half of the night, there was no need for any noise to disturb them. The bright torches outside woke them up. The sound of moving footsteps and whispers quickly conveyed a message to them. The other party had a large number of people. Brother, they are really enthusiastic. So many people came to greet us. Lin Gu said, I know a little about the rules of pirates, but the pirates in this place are really a bit special. Compared to the pirates on ships all year round, their behavior is more like mountain bandits. Oh, what do you mean? Su Yun, perhaps this place has unique conditions. The vast ocean allows them to rely on the advantages of the conditions to directly occupy the island without worrying about whether the world government will send troops to wipe them out. Lin Gu scratched his head. Most of the pirates I know live on ships. They have nests, but they don't return to the island for 10 days to half a month. It's normal not to go on land for 3 to 5 months, but there are so many people on this island. Obviously, most of them are in their nests on this island. Isn't this more like mountain bandits? That's true. Su Yun nodded. I also heard about the rules of pirates. For example, everyone has the right to vote, everyone is fair, but no cheating in terms of wealth. Violators are banished, gambling is prohibited, if you want to drink at night, go to the deck to drink. Keep your weapons clean, boys and girls are not allowed to join the team. If a crew member brings a girl out to sea, he will be executed. Those who delay the flight will also be executed or banished, and they are not allowed to talk about changing their lifestyle. Lin Gu was taken aback. Not bad, big brother. You know quite a lot. Do you also think that these pirates are more like mountain bandits? They occupy the island and are kings of the island. This is completely different from the traditional pirates we know. That's right. Su Yun nodded. When Yi Yuan and Fei Fan left, Fei Fan said something to me. At that time, I didn't pay much attention to it, but now that I think about it, it's really... Hee hee. Hearing Su Yun's strange laughter, Lin Ji's curiosity was piqued. What did that kid say? Why didn't I hear anything? He said that the pirates here don't follow the rules, Su Yun said. At the time, I just listened casually and didn't take it to heart. It seemed that they were really unruly. Calling them pirates is a bit of an insult to pirates. They are a group of villains, bandits, and hooligans who commit all kinds of crimes. Lin Gu shrugged his shoulders. Then let's teach these villains a lesson. Then let's go. Su Yun finally stood up. At this moment, a low voice came from the door. Capture him alive. This was a guy with a mahogany order. As long as he could capture him and give him to the captain, he would definitely be rewarded greatly. In the future, the people on our island will definitely be valued by the captain. Do you understand? Understood. Everyone replied. The man who gave the order waved his hand vigorously and scolded, Keep your voice down. It would be troublesome if he woke her up. You should know the strength of those who possess the mahogany medallion. Quang Dang. Just as the 100 people outside were still thinking about how to sneak attack, Su Yun pushed open the door. The heavy door slammed into the face of the man who gave the order, causing him to be slammed half to death. 100 people, seeing their boss slammed into the back by a door and not moving for a long time, their morale was instantly reduced by half. Aya, why are there still people at the door? Sorry, Su Yun said. Why aren't you guys sleeping in the middle of the night? What are you doing here? You know that us two brothers are hungry, so you came to deliver supper? Hearing Su Yun's words, none of the 100 people below could react. It was too sudden, really too sudden. They had been carefully preparing for the whole night and even specially fed these two people alcohol. How could these two people wake up just like that? They didn't even have time to react. It was really too sudden. Su Yun took a deep breath. You guys are too polite. You even brought knives. Are you going to cut mutton? Eat hot pot? The group of people who didn't know what hot pot was looked at each other blankly. In the end, their gazes focused on the boss whose nose was smashed flat and bleeding profusely. Go. Capture him alive. The leader was the leader. Even if his face was smashed flat, he still gave the order immediately. All of you, remember this. Capture the mahogany medallion holder and the captain will be rewarded with 20 million. 20 million USD. The money belongs to whoever captures him. Su Yun didn't hold back anymore. Since they had already shed all pretense of cordiality, he raised his leg and kicked this guy out. When the reward was high, brave men would be attracted. The 100 people were instantly attracted by the 20 million USD. No one remembered what it meant to have a mahogany medallion holder. One had to know that in the Hunter Academy, only the 8 great instructors were qualified to have a mahogany medallion. Which one of them wasn't extraordinary? It was just that these people were even more unlucky this time. The mahogany medallion holder in front of them was probably stronger than the 8 great instructors of the Hunter Academy. Not to mention Su Yun, just Lin Ji's move alone was enough to knock over a dozen people. Although there were a lot of bandits on this small island, none of them had real strength. If he wasn't mistaken, this was just a subsidiary island of one of the 2 major pirate forces in the Pacific Ocean. These people weren't strong at all. Su Yun felt that the battle was already over before the warm-up was over. 100 people were lying on the ground. Shifty Eyebrows and Rat Eyes, who were secretly watching the battle from afar, didn't dare to show their faces when they saw this scene. The current situation was that the best strategy was to escape. They didn't expect the other party to be so strong. This was a little too exaggerated. If the 2 of them were to show their faces now, they would be courting death. Run. They just had to run quickly and inform the captain as soon as possible. They had to tell the captain that these 2 people weren't easy to deal with. It was impossible to rely on them to deal with these 2 people. Hey, you 2 don't have to hide anymore. You've been following us all the way. It's time to meet up, right? It's not like you're a tortoise. It's not good to hide your heads, right? Just as the 2 of them were about to sneak away, Su Yun's voice sounded. This scared Shifty Eyebrows and Rat Eyes silly. Could it be that the 2 of them had been discovered? That couldn't be. The 2 of them had been careful enough to hide. Lend me a torch. Su Yun picked up a torch that hadn't been extinguished from the ground and threw it behind a few shrubs. Shifty Eyebrows and Rat Eyes ran out while screaming. They were so scared that tears were about to flow out of their faces. This was the rhythm of burning them to death. It was because of the 2 of them that the outside pirates on this island set up such a trap, waiting for Su Yun and Lin Gu to fall into it. Su Yun now understood Bu Fifen's intentions. The pirates on this island were really unruly. Most of the people on this island were ordinary people who had been controlled by the pirates. Under certain circumstances, they would become bandits. With this kind of standard, they wanted to capture the holder of the Mahogany Order. Shifty Eyebrows and Rat Eyes' intestines were green with regret. If they had known this would happen, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. Even if they used their butts to think, these guys wouldn't be a match for the holder of the Mahogany Order. Chapter 1604. The 2 shifty-eyed fellows weren't fools. After avoiding the fire, they immediately extinguished the fire under their feet. If it started burning, the entire island would be in trouble. Although it was an island with a humid climate, they were really afraid of a fire disaster. If the island was burned in the middle of the night, there would be no place for people to hide. Hide on the ship? Wasn't this a joke? Once the fire burned, those unknown things in the deep sea would be able to see it. Once they were attracted, what would the result be? Staying on the ship was tantamount to waiting for death. Only a fool would choose to stay on a ship next to an island that was on fire in the middle of the night. After stamping out the fire, the two of them realized that although they had stopped the fire disaster, they still had to face a struggle. The two of them had fought against hundreds of people without batting an eyelid. Wouldn't it be like strangling a little chick to death if they were to deal with the two of them? Heroes, two heroes, this is a misunderstanding. Shifty-Eye's reaction was quite fast. After knowing that the two of them were Hua Xia, he immediately changed his words. Not only did he speak fluent Chinese, but he also knew that hero was an honorific for the masters of Hua Xia. Su Yun was really a little surprised. Since he learned fluent Chinese, why did he become a pirate bully? What a smart person with a talent for languages. Wouldn't it be more profitable to do something than to be a pirate? Misunderstanding? Then you explain it to me. Lin Gu had already strode forward as he spoke. He pressed his left hand on Shifty-Eye's neck and pushed him forward. Then he raised his right foot and kicked the back of Shifty-Eye's waist. Come on, explain it properly. If you explain it clearly, then it's a misunderstanding. If you can't explain it clearly, then don't blame me for following your rules. The two shifty-eyed guys were stunned for a moment. They looked at each other and asked in unison, "What rules do we have?" That's enough. I know you guys aren't the kind of pirates who have morals. You guys are just a bunch of rotten fish, rotten shrimps, and wretched bastards. However, any pirate knows that they can't use underhanded methods. Your poisoning is one of them. Lin Gu said, according to the rules, he would have to chop off his right hand and feed it to the sharks. Then, he would be banished to an uninhabited island to fend for himself. When the two of them heard this, they were so scared that they trembled all over. Oh my God, isn't this too serious? Wasn't this the same as trying to kill him? Even if it was a perfect person with both hands and feet, it was already very difficult for them to come out alive after being exiled to an isolated island. Chopping off their hands meant certain death. No, hero, you misunderstood. We don't have such a rule. Rat-Eye quickly said. This guy's Chinese was not bad. We are the kind of rotten fish and rotten shrimp that you said. How can there be any rules for a rotten fish and rotten shrimp? Haha. Rat-Eye's fake smile was really funny. He was really scared. Otherwise, he wouldn't have such an expression. No rules. Are there really no rules? Lin Gu said, then why don't I set some rules for you? Don't talk nonsense with him. Su Yun secretly gave Lin Gu a look and said, just deal with them as you should. Brother, you didn't ask them who arranged it. You just want me to kill them directly? Lin Gu, of course, could understand Su Yun's meaning. He immediately said, then, how do you do it? Just kill them directly. As Lin Gu said this, he made a throat-slitting gesture with his hand at the back of his neck. This completely scared the two guys with shifty eyes. Su Yun waved his hand. You can deal with it however you want. It's not the first time we've encountered pirates. We all know that they are stubborn. We can't get anything out of them even if we force them to confess. It's a waste of time and we'll still have to kill them in the end. Why don't we just get rid of them now and end it once and for all? This will also be a relief for them and save them the trouble of forcing them to confess. Su Yun said this because he already knew that since the other party thought that they were the holders of the Mahogany Order, they definitely thought that they were the people of Headmaster Gu of the Hunter School. Headmaster Gu had punished these despicable bandits many times. Therefore, Su Yun's act was reasonable. It was hard for the two of them not to believe it. Lin Gu nodded. That's true. Then let's just send them on their way. Don't. How do you know that we're stubborn when you haven't even asked us? We brothers are different from others. Our mouths are soft and ruthless. We don't need to be tortured. As long as you have anything you want to know, just ask. We'll tell you everything we know. The shifty eyes were very tacit when it came to this matter. The two of them begged for mercy in unison. Su-yun smiled bitterly. Was he lucky or unlucky? Su-yun thought to himself, I've met a weakling. If he was unlucky, he had met two spineless people. They were really not a threat. If he was lucky, he couldn't stop on the first night. He was really unlucky. Then tell me, what's the situation? Isn't it a misunderstanding? Su-yun said. Explain. Shifty Eyes grinned and nodded. We mistook you for someone else. We mistook you for someone else. Yes. The Shifty Eyes quickly followed up. We mistook you for someone who owed us money, so we just wanted to hold you down and get the money back. There's no other meaning. We just didn't expect to make a mistake and offend the two heroes. It's really a sin. Su-yun nodded. The reason is good. It sounds quite reasonable. Yes. It's very reasonable. Haha. The big stone in the hearts of the Shifty Eyes and the Shifty Eyes were also half put down. The two heroes are magnanimous. Please forgive us for being blind. Brother, this reason is not bad. Lin-gu grinned and showed a helpless smile. This is too far-fetched. As soon as he heard this, the Shifty Eyes' little heart that had just been put down was raised again. I mean, if we didn't know that they had been following us all the way, this reason sounds pretty good. Su-yun. But, after leaving the port in Hawaii, we have been followed. Now, using this reason to deal with me is a bit far-fetched. You mistook us for someone else. The Shifty Eyes said again. We definitely didn't follow you. Yes. You mistook us for someone else. The Shifty Eyes added. Su-yun pointed at himself and said, You mean to say that I am blind? And the Shifty Eyes nodded quickly. After a moment of realization, he quickly shook his head. No. We are blind. We are blind. See? I said that these people are stubborn. It's useless to say more. In the end, we still have to kill them. Let's do it now. Su-yun waved his hand and directly let Lin-gu do it. Lin-gu rolled up his sleeves without saying anything. Just as Su-yun turned around and ignored the two fellows, the shifty-eyed man kneeled on the ground with a plop. Hero, please spare us. We were just trying to make a living. We really didn't mean to let you two down. It was Captain Kame. Captain Kame ordered us to do this. We had no choice. If we didn't do it, we would be the ones dead. The two of them were really scared. They begged sincerely. We really don't dare to offend Captain Kame. If we offend him, we won't be able to survive here anymore. He ordered us to catch you. Why did he target us? Su-yun, it's only our first day in Hawaii. Wait, let me analyze it. Is it because of this? As he spoke, Su-yun took out the mahogany token. Seeing the mahogany token, the shifty eyes were so scared that they didn't even dare to breathe. They nodded repeatedly. It was because of this thing. It was because of this small token. Su-yun put away the mahogany token. This thing was really useful, but it also brought him all kinds of trouble. Then, the Captain Kame you mentioned, is he from the Sharks or the Beluga Whale clan? Hearing these two names, the shifty eyes sucked in a cold breath. Hero, you think too highly of our Captain Kame. We are the Sea Monster Pirate Clan. Captain Kame is the captain of our Sea Monster Pirate Clan, Su-yun said. Oh. So it's just a lowly gang. Chapter 1605. Who are you calling lowly? A loud shout came from the boat on the island. The sound of a boat discharging water could be faintly heard in the distance. It was obvious that a large warship had arrived. The person who shouted was probably the vanguard of the owner of the boat. He looked very powerful and had a fearless expression on his face. When Shifty Eyes saw the figure in the distance, he instantly beamed with joy. They were saved. First Mate Pa. You and the captain are finally here. These two mahogany order holders are too powerful. We're no match for them. Look, so many people couldn't stop them. You two bastards, you can't even solve such a small matter. You need the captain and I to do it ourselves. What's the point of keeping you? The figure in the distance was Parr. In this part of the sea, Parr's name was well known enough to make people tremble in fear. First Mate Parr, don't be angry. We really want to do something for you and the captain, but you can see the situation now. We're no match for them, Shifty Eyes complained. We're already fighting with our lives. Shifty Eyes also complained. Yes, we've been following them for an entire day to come up with such a good plan to take them down. Who knew that these two people would be so cunning? We had no choice but to fight hard, but the result was still that we weren't strong enough. We really don't have the ability to deal with mahogany order holders. When Su Yun heard their words, he couldn't help but laugh. When did you two fight hard with us? Weren't you just hiding in a corner to watch the show? When you saw that the east wind was suppressing the west wind, you wanted to run away immediately. After you were caught, you didn't even need to force a confession out of your lowly Captain Kamehameha. First Mate Parr was furious. He glared at Su Yun fiercely. This guy had repeatedly said that they were lowly. These mahogany order holders were all the same. They all looked down on small pirate gangs like them. They only had eyes for the two big pirate gangs, the Sharks and the Beluga clan. They looked down on them directly. As for the betrayal, Parr threw it to the back of his mind. What's so great about you? You just have a mahogany order, right? Let me tell you, if you don't have that token, you're nothing in my eyes. But since someone gave you the mahogany medallion, I will reluctantly look up to you and see what you are capable of. Wait a minute, are you missing the point? Lin Gu pointed at him with shifty eyes and said, My brother is telling you that your two subordinates betrayed you. Are you stupid? Can't you tell the difference between good and bad? You don't have a badge. You're not qualified to talk to me, First Mate Parr said arrogantly. The corner of Lin Ji's mouth twitched. This grandson wouldn't shed a tear until he saw the coffin. He wouldn't give up until he reached the Yellow River. If he didn't teach him a lesson, then he would be letting down his fists. All right, I'm not up to standard, and you're not up to standard either. Then let's spar, shall we? Lin Gu twisted his neck provocatively and rubbed his palms together. First Mate Parr pointed at Su Yun angrily. Only someone with a mahogany order has the right to spar with me. Spar your ass. Lin Gu spat. I'm here to teach you a lesson. As he spoke, Lin Gu strode forward and jumped high into the air. His knee slammed into Parr's face. Parr wasn't weak, so he wouldn't die in one hit. However, he had underestimated his opponent too much. He didn't take Lin Gu seriously at all, so he didn't put up any defenses. As long as someone didn't put up any defenses, they would die very quickly. By the time Parr realized the danger, it was already too late to dodge. His face came into contact with Lin Ji's knee for the first time. The impact turned Parr's head into mush. After a series of buzzing sounds, First Mate Parr staggered back 2 or 3 meters. Lin Gu didn't give him any time to react. He quickly followed up with a kick. It was like a cannonball had been fired from a barrel, and it slammed into Parr's chest. Although First Mate Parr was known for his resistance to attacks, he was still sent flying 5 or 6 meters away by this kick. However, First Mate Parr, who was known for his resistance to attacks, wouldn't admit defeat so easily. He used all his strength to stand up again. Although he wasn't from Hua Xia, he liked Hua Xia's saying that a man has gold under his knees. He was someone who swore that even if he died, he would die standing up. The moment First Mate Parr stood up, Lin Ji's leg came crashing down on his face. This kick didn't give First Mate Parr any chance to escape. A furious Lin Gu wasn't someone to be trifled with. Each of his 3 strikes was more vicious than the last. The fact that First Mate Parr could withstand 3 strikes before falling to the ground proved that he was very strong. Shifty eyebrows and rat eyes were completely dumbfounded. They'd always thought that this person was just a follower of the mahogany order holder. They didn't think that this person's strength was so terrifying. 3 strikes. Just 3 strikes, and First Mate Parr, who was powerful in this part of the sea, was kneeling on the ground, unable to get up. Lin Gu snorted in disdain. He didn't even use his fists. He only used his legs to put this guy down. You're just a piece of trash. After First Mate Parr was taken down, the entire place fell silent. This made the sound of the large boat approaching the shore even more obvious. Everyone realized that Captain Kamei had arrived. Although First Mate Parr had been taken down in 3 strikes, Captain Kamei's arrival still filled Shifty Eyebrows and Rat Eyes with hope for victory. Yes, in their eyes, no matter how strong 2 people were, there was no way they could escape from Captain Kamei's grasp. It didn't matter if he was the mahogany order holder or not. There was no way he could fight against a powerful pirate captain alone. The main character is here. Su Yun smiled. Let's be careful. No one would believe that someone who can become a captain doesn't have a few tricks up his sleeve. That's true. Lin Gu nodded and looked at Shifty Eyebrows and Rat Eyes. You two should know what this Captain Kamei is capable of, right? Tell us about it. Take it as a reward for not making you two suffer. Shifty Eyebrows and Rat Eyes now had someone to rely on. Of course, they wouldn't fall for Lin Ge's trick. They ignored him completely. Yo, you don't believe that I can cripple you two before your Captain Kamei arrives? Lin Gu threatened with a glare. Shifty Eyebrows and Rat Eyes were definitely sensible people. Their expressions changed immediately. No. That's not what I meant. If you want to know anything about Captain Kamei, just ask. We'll tell you everything we know. Then why don't you tell me what his big move is? Lin Gu chuckled. Big move? Shifty Eyebrows didn't understand what he meant. Bang! Suddenly, there was a gunshot. Shifty Eyebrows' head exploded with a bang. Rat Eye's face was covered in blood and brain matter. Rat Eyes was stunned. Skidiskay, so this is his big move. His marksmanship is quite accurate. Lin Gu didn't want to see that horrible scene. It was too disgusting. Rat Eyes of course knew who fired the shot. After coming back to his senses, he quickly crouched on the ground and begged for mercy. Captain Kamei, please spare me. It's not what you think. I'm loyal to you. A hoarse voice came from where the gunshot came from. Loyal to me and betrayed me, right? At this time, you still want to tell the enemy everything you know. You two are really too disloyal. A few black shadows came from afar. That trench coat, that style, tisk, it really felt like a captain. Captain Kamei kept you two in Hawaii because you two speak good Chinese and can judge who is the real, fat sheep. It's not because you are loyal. Another voice said, since you betrayed the captain to this extent, the captain has no need to keep you. Just as everyone was waiting for the second shot, Su Yun said, no matter how useless they are, didn't they trap the two of us on this island? Even if they don't have merit, they have worked hard. They don't deserve to die. Su Yun's words made Rat Eye prostrate himself in gratitude. Ha. What a bold young man. No wonder Principal Gu can value people with mahogany token. Captain Kamei's voice was really hoarse. If you can be used by me, I may consider sparing your lives. Chapter 1606. Captain. I'm afraid that's not very appropriate. The one who spoke was the vice-captain of the Kraken Pirates, Bitley. They've just killed First Mate Parr. If we recruit them now, I'm worried that our brothers will feel uncomfortable and unconvinced. So, I think it's better to... It's nothing. Everyone knows that there's nothing wrong with my pursuit of talents. As long as they can be of use to me in the future, they'll be my good friends, Captain Kamei said. As long as they're loyal to me, they'll be my good subordinates. I can also promise any of you that I'll surpass the Sharks and Beluga pirates sooner or later. I'll make the Kraken pirates the biggest force in the Pacific Ocean. This is my promise to all of you, and also to anyone who wants to join us. Captain Kamei is mighty and domineering. Captain Kame is so cool. Rat Eye quickly flattered. He didn't want to end up like Thief Eye, whose head had exploded. Even if his own parents came, they wouldn't be able to recognize him. In this day and age, as long as one could survive, nothing mattered. What was dignity? Captain Kame ignored Rat Eye's flattery and continued to talk about Su Yun. Friend, I've already sincerely extended an olive branch to you. As long as you're willing, nothing is a problem. I'm just waiting for your word. Let's forget about our previous conflicts. Once you're on my ship, you can be my first mate. How much money do you want? Just say the word. In the future, whatever I get, you can take as much as you want from me. Just say the word. Lin Gu was speechless. Did this guy think that this was a job fair? Was this an open recruitment? Salary and benefits? There were even bonuses. If he continued, he would probably give him shares, right? How about this? As long as you agree to join my ship, I'll give you 10% of all my wealth. Captain Kame had already spent a lot of money. 10%. 10% of all his wealth. According to their rules, the captain would take 90% of the spoils, and the others would share 10%. Captain Kame gave Su Yun 10%. What did that equate to? 10% of the shares. If this was in the recruitment market, it would definitely be a treatment that even the super managers couldn't give. 10% of the shares belong to the major shareholders. Captain Kame is really sincere. This amount of money completely shocked Vice Captain Bitley. After all, he had been with Captain Camel for so many years, and each time, he only received 2% of the spoils. As a loyal vice captain, having 2% was really too little. But this unknown guy had just appeared, and he could get 10% of Captain Kamahir's savings. Would he be able to get 10% of the spoils in the future? Was this still the treatment of a first mate? This time, it surpassed the total of everyone on the ship except for the captain. Captain Kame, do you think so highly of him? Of course, Beatley was unwilling to give up. Yes, that's right. He is the holder of the Mahogany Order. But who in this sea region had seen him before? Who knows him? He's just a new face. We don't even know if he has the strength of those people. Captain Kame knew that Bitley was uncomfortable, but he did not go along with him. Yes, I don't know how strong he is. But you saw what happened to Fall. Of course, I might not be interested in him just because he has the strength. But I like this young and promising man. Thank you for thinking so highly of me, Captain Kame. Su Yun put his hands together and said, Give me 10% of the treasure? Isn't this a bit too much? Bitley sneered. You know it's too much. Captain Kame really thinks too highly of you. What are you talking about? Think too highly of me? Lin Gu spat. Can't you tell that my brother is being sarcastic? You're just a mediocre pirate group. How much treasures can you possibly have? Do you think we're interested in such a small amount of money? 10%. F*CK, if you give him 100%, maybe my brother will be merciful and let you go. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Captain, if we don't kill these two people, how can we show our power? Bitley looked like he was thirsting for blood. He couldn't wait to chop the two of them up right now. Ha 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 ha. Ambitious, bold, courageous. Captain Kame laughed wildly. I like young people with courage, but if young people are too courageous, it's easy for them to get into trouble. I don't care, but if it was someone else, they would have been angry long ago. Since you think 10% is too little, okay, then say it. Name a price. Captain? You're not really going to? Of course. Captain Kame interrupted Bitley before he could finish. What's the most important thing now? It's not money, it's talent. Any field needs talent. Talent is often more precious than money. Listening to the conversation, Lin Gu couldn't help but laugh out loud. Brother, did you hear that? She's being serious. He really likes you. If it doesn't work, you can try being a pirate for a few days. Just treat it as an experience. Su Yun nodded. Yes, I think it's good. I just don't know how much treasure this Captain Kame has. Hearing Su Yun's words, Captain Kame sneered in his heart. In this world, no matter how moral a person was, he could not resist the temptation of money. As long as he had money, he could take anything. If the other party did not value money so much, he would not say such words. I don't have much treasure, but it's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Captain Cameron said, if you're willing to come, you'll be able to get what you want every time. Money will no longer be a dream for you. Dream. This time it was Su Yun's turn to laugh. Hundreds of millions of dollars? Uh-huh. How about it? Are you tempted? Captain Kame said. Alas. Su Yun sighed. Captain Kame did not know what he meant. Okay, I know you don't like 10%, then I'll give you 20%. Captain Kame said, do you know how many people in this world can have $100 million in their lifetime? Even 1 in a million people can't get so much money in their lifetime. Su Yun raised his hand and made a stop gesture. Captain Kame, if I knew you were so poor, I wouldn't have wasted my time with you. 20%. Even if you give me your hundreds of millions, I don't care. What's this little money? Captain Kame's face changed. This was the first time someone looked down on him and his money. The main reason was that they looked down on his money. He had spent half his life risking his life for a few $100 million. This guy said he didn't like it? What nonsense. Ridiculous. Bitley gritted his teeth and said, Captain, let me deal with this guy. I'll also let that guy in the ancient magpie world know that in the future, don't look down on us sea monster pirates. We can even kill the mahogany order holder that the sharks and beluga whale couldn't kill. You talk big. Lin Gu hooked his finger. If you want to touch my brother, you'll have to try me first. Then I'd like to see what you're capable of. Bitley sneered and took out the machete at his waist. Let me cut off your meat piece by piece and slowly roast it. It'll be Captain Kame's dinner. Lin Gu grinned. My meat is pretty good. It's very delicious. I'm just afraid you don't have the ability to cut it off. At this time, Captain Kame didn't stop his vice-captain. Maybe he should let Bitley teach this follower a lesson. Otherwise, if he didn't know how powerful he was, he wouldn't join him. He had to teach them a lesson so that they would obey him obediently. After getting Captain Kame's permission, Bitley walked towards Lin Gu with his machete. Lin Gu had seen a lot of pirate tricks since he was young, so he didn't hesitate to face him. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.